Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Flick by Shot by Shot.
Oh no!
It's been so long. With your hosts, Oliver.
We're not starting again after that.
No.
Okay. And me, Joe Kelly.
And today we are going to discuss Colin Trevorrow's...
Trevorrow.
Is that how you say
That's
it?
how it's
Trevorrow.
pronounced.
His flop masterpiece, Jurassic World.
Yeah.
In reality, it made a lot of money, which is a real shame, because this is a film for dumb people. Or at least, there are a lot of people who like...
Don't hold back.
No, this is how I'm going to explain myself. There's a lot of people who like this movie, and for good reason that we'll get into later. But it's not a good film. I think people judge it... Okay, there's a lot... See, this is a very front-loaded film, so there's a lot of scenes to begin with that we'll be talking about, such as this one, where right off the bat we see the dinosaurs. Or it still holds back a little bit, but...
Not really. I mean, yeah.
A claw is a lot to show.
I didn't want this commentary to just be me like dumping on it, but I don't know how much I can help myself.
You probably hate it more than I do.
I mean, actually, it's interesting. So, just quick context. I saw this in the cinema when it came out, and I was actually quite excited for it because I'd liked Safety Not Guaranteed, which is Colin Trevorrow's first film, and I thought like the kids in it, I'd seen them in some other stuff, so I was like, okay, the kids will be good, and I just thought it looked like an interesting idea, and then I thought it was terrible. And I saw it with a load of people who enjoyed it and was telling me how fun it was. And that was the word they kept saying. They kept saying it was fun. And it really, really angered me. And it's since been one of my worst films. Watching it again, I don't think it's as out and out bad as I remember.
See, it's worse for me.
Yeah.
Here we go. We got digital effect by fucking Digital Domain.
Yeah,
they shot that one out.
That first bit we just watched really
that
lacks.
was an ILM.
It just immediately lacks so much tangibility. I don't...
Can I say my first thing about Colin Trevorrow?
Go for it.
Following this scene. Poor, what's her name?
Oh, I didn't get her name.
Judy Greer, that's it. She's always the mum.
And you couldn't write a more boring mum character than this.
Okay, here's the thing. I've figured out why I don't like this opening sequence and why I don't get on with a lot of Trevorrow's filmmaking. It's because it feels like an advert for Disney World. This is exactly this bit up until when they get into the park. Feels like an extended version of what you see on TV for like a Disneyland advert or a Disney World advert.
That's a very good way
like
of putting it.
A kid in a room, like so like the camera is all like slightly documentary in that it's handheld, but it's like very sort of stylish shots.
Just there.
Yeah, like lighting is very sort of stark, very bright. There's like a kid in a room playing with like a Donald Duck toy. Like it doesn't immediately state that it's a Disneyland advert. It's like they're playing in a room with a Donald Duck toy, and then the mom's like, "No, we gotta go, sweetie. We gotta get the flight. We're gonna miss our flight." You see all the family getting together, and they're at the airport, and they're like, "It's gonna be such a great holiday. We've been looking forward to this all year." And you see like little references to like Disneyland in the background. Not quite there yet.
Well, to further your point, though, that they kind of use the same stereotypes that you find in advertising because they've got to tell shorter stories and give shorter messages, except these stereotypes are extended across an entire fucking movie.
We'll get into those characters, but it astounds me that Trevorrow hasn't had a history in advertisements because all of his films are incredibly snappy in the wrong ways. Like it's delivering... All of the characters deliver like the plot details very bluntly. Like most of the dialogue is just delivering plot information.
I was surprised rewatching Safety Not Guaranteed that's also the case with that.
Yeah, and Book of Henry, same.
The first half an hour of that film is definitely the weakest.
Yeah, and short scenes that finish way before you could finish them. You know, you could add on a lot to these scenes, have characters properly like interacting with one another, but it finishes pretty much... There's a few scenes in this that are really abrupt. I know he went through and like shortened a lot of the film in editing, but like maybe a bit too much because a lot of these scenes
just none of the scenes really have anywhere to breathe. Like, and this is the thing, you've got two brothers here, like, and
Sorry, guys.
Shameless. You're going to give product placement.
I need it. Captain Morgan's now available in Jurassic World, the nearest supermarket, Sainsbury's.
As I was saying, these two brother characters, there's so much opportunity for humour, and to get some chemistry out of these actors, because they're both good actors. I think that Ty Simpkins, the little one, was in Broadwalk Empire. Nick Robertson was really good in Kings of Summer, and I've heard he's really good in Love, Simon as well. And yet they're just reduced to such boring stereotypes we've seen before. And there's
the older one's just an arsehole.
Oh yeah, no, he's
he
genuinely.
No
I'm gonna
and
break into
awful.
this later. He's a genuinely terrible person.
Yeah.
I don't care how young he is, but it's a big reason why the film doesn't work. Because
Yeah.
I know people are divided on Tim and Lex in the first one, but I think they're really charming, and I think overall there's just an innocence to them.
There's a spark to them.
Ty Simpkins is okay. I think he's actually
Really?
one of the best performances in the film.
Really?
For a
It
kid, I
feels
think
very artificial.
Yeah,
me.
but I think he
feels very forced.
does some good stuff.
He doesn't
I think.
sell the wonder or the terror. He's just
Oh,
always
I think he does.
that face on, the face that he's got on right now.
No, I think he does.
Sorry, to rewind a little bit. Is this the first Jurassic Park film that doesn't begin on a black background with the title? Because I know one has the black background of the title. 3 does. Can't remember how Lost World opens.
No, I think the Lost World doesn't.
Okay.
I think the Lost World plays over a beach, but don't take my word for that. It's when they arrive at the beach of the thing, and I think it's orange text.
We'll get into the other films because you have a case to make for Lost World, and I have a case to make for
Not
Jurassic
really.
Park
I don't
3.
think it's bad. The reason
boy.
I don't think Lost World. Just one of the worst lead characters. Not.
I think it's
a
more.
fault of-
Yeah. Well, what you were probably referring to for me, a lot of the female characters in Colin Trevorrow's
Trevorrow.
his films are their successes are kind of framed from a male viewpoint. So, is her name Claire? She doesn't really achieve anything in this film without it being like confirmed by a man. Like even at the end when she's like involved in the action, it's very much like she'll do something, and then it'll be like Chris Pratt's character like comes along and like gives her a smooch or shoots a dinosaur one last time.
Absolutely, and gives her a look like wow, that was cool. Or the boys give her
your
a
boyfriend's
look.
so cool. It's
Yeah.
like, oh. But a lot it carries over to like in Safety Not Guaranteed, the protagonist in that she just kind of watches the plot happen and doesn't really have much.
That's a
agency
good
in
point. And I think more so than this, I like Bryce Dallas Howard. I don't like her in this film. I don't think she actually brings much to it. But I don't think it's necessarily great casting for her as well, because there are a couple of things that kind of that play on this slightly. Oh, I'm kind of vacuous and I kind of don't care, and I'm sort of materialistic. And in her better films and TV shows, Black Mirror, there's like a self-awareness of it, which is really interesting to watch, and it feels actually very truthful. Whereas this just feels artificial.
We will get into the self-referential quality because I think that's actually something that connects this and Jurassic Park 3. I think that there's an interesting link between them. But first of all, I can't remember if they said it in the previous. No, actually they said it in the later scene. So I'm trying to delve into some of the theme park stuff as well because, as you know, I quite like theme parks. And
we still need to start doing ride on ride.
We should do that. We went to Alton Towers literally yesterday, so.
I need to foreshadow quickly that I have a long speech about Zara the assistant that I will be reading.
Female character.
Look at the way she stumbled through that door. What a contemptible character. I sure hope she gets an appalling
She
death
does
scene.
nothing wrong. She literally does. She's upset by the fact that she loses the kids because they ran off. It's like
You're taking lines from my monologue.
yeah.
So what did you? I think the main thing I hear when people like this film are basically that they find all the ideas to do with the construction of the theme park cool. So it's like, oh, isn't it cool that there's a dino petting zoo for the kids and all these computer bits are cool? And I think they think the realization of the theme park is pretty cool. What do you think of it?
It's weird because I forgot that there's a line of dialogue where they say that the park's been open for 10 years because it still feels really fresh.
Oh yes.
And this links to one of my more integral problems with the film. But it seems like a theme park that is in its opening year. It feels quite small, very small exhibits, kind of like focused on a few really sort of technologically advanced attractions. It doesn't really I feel like if it's existed for 10 years, they'd have like areas themed to different like you could do a lot with like a kaiju themed area where all the dinosaurs are situated amongst little miniature buildings.
Absolutely.
So it's like a Japanese kind of kaiju thing, or like a Wild West environment where it's like the old like 50s dinosaur Wild West film.
That's a fun idea. Well, I think that the two things that, like you said, they established it's been open for 10 years, but it doesn't really feel lived in at all, or it doesn't feel like used, or like you said, that much ideas have gone through. And I don't think any of the ideas that have gone into it are like radical. I know they were trying to make it believable, but I didn't get any of the sense of awe with this one.
No.
What I got from the first one.
Here's the NASA control center. Do you remember the control center in the first Jurassic Park where it was just like fucking Samuel L. Jackson and Dennis Nedry, what's his name, Wayne Knight,
well,
a couple of computers.
I was reading something today,
and
they were trying to base it off the
Universal
Orlando
Studios,
Universal Studios,
and they found it too boring.
So they were like, why don't we make it like NASA?
Jesus Christ. It's like the first film did the exact same thing. It's like a dark room with a bunch of computers in it, and it was fine, and it worked great. But we've got to, this is what I mean, they got to bash audiences on the head, be like, this is the control room, and they could observe the whole park from here, and it's super advanced and super...
This fits in slightly to one of the things that annoyed me so much about this film, in that I think to some extent it popularised even more this style of blockbusters since then, which is kind of like I call it the wouldn't this be cool blockbuster. And that's not to say this is the first film to do it, but it's to make films where the priority is like little snippets and little ideas and little images. It's like, okay, so we've got this park, and imagine we got this, and imagine we got this, and imagine there's a dino petting zoo. Imagine there's a bit where they're canoeing down the river, and it's all going to be really cool. And then we can just have like bare bones characters, and a dinosaur comes and eats them all. And I think even like stuff like Spider-Man: Homecoming, I would describe as a wouldn't that be cool film. I think
with all the suits where it's like, I got all these gadgets.
I think like there's a lot of the things people like about Spider-Man: Homecoming is like little ideas, like imagine if his friend wasn't Harry Osborn and it was just like this other cool guy, and imagine if Flash Gordon was a bit of a nerd, and I think that's what the film is mainly interested in. Of course, the only good bits are like the little character interplays.
We did miss one good character moment with the Claire character where she like pushes a bin over before the drink falls. That's like one nice
I did notice that. There are, I think I counted like 3 moments in this film that I'd like,
to
and
give
that's
it
the
some
first
credit.
one.
But to start on the whole, we got the wannabe
Hammond.
Yeah, Hammond, played by
Mr. Masrani.
Irfan Khan. But he doesn't feel like he doesn't really have a purpose in the film. Like, they introduce him. He appears in the command room for a few scenes. He doesn't really have a role in the plot.
He's used to find out information. He's just a surrogate for giving information to the audience, because he goes and talks to Henry Wu at one point.
Oh yeah,
and then Henry Wu
dig into that scene,
explains the plot.
Yeah,
and then he's like, "Oh no!" And then he gets in a helicopter, which is just ridiculous.
Oh, of course he flies.
But what's bizarre is the helicopter bit. Even though I was like in the cinema, like, why the fuck is this happening? It's one of the it's one of the only things that's set up.
Yeah,
which we'll get to later. Yeah. Like in this scene, it's like, oh, he's doing helicopter driving lessons, and later on, he's like, hey, I can fly helicopters. And as stupid as that is, most of the stuff later on isn't even set up.
But it plays into my theory that when this came out, everyone was like, Colin Trevorrow, he might be the next Spielberg. And you read all the reviews, and it's like, you read all the reviews, and they're like, Spielberg, it really creates that sense of Spielbergian wonder. And it's such a Spielbergian style. I think the truth is, it's more like Roland Emmerich kind of style, where the characters just speak the plot to you. Some of the only setup and payoff is the most stupid shit in the world. Like, like Will Smith wants to join NASA, so he ends up like flying the alien spaceship into the mothership. Because that's the thing. I was thinking about Independence Day today, and I was like, holy shit, this film has all the same problems as Jurassic World. Where it's just like bloated, overlong like story without any real like proper characterization. And yet people love it because it's like got enough of that style in it to be like superficially kind of spectacular.
The only thing I'd say is, I mean, I approached this commentary very much thinking, how much can we just like attribute to Colin Trevorrow? In looking it up, the impression I get, I don't know if this is true from all the making of the documentary, is that he did actually have a lot of creative control.
Oh, yeah.
He co-wrote the script. It is
It's
very
him
much
and
his baby.
Regular script.
Derek Connolly.
Yeah.
Who also did
Safety
Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, and what was the other one?
Kong Skull Island.
Kong Skull Island, that was it.
Yes.
Which had a similar kind of tone. It wasn't as naff as this. But yeah, no, the other sort of major issue I have with this film is, like, a lot of people say the strength of it thematically is that it's like a commentary on modern blockbusters. Like, it's like people won't settle for regular dinosaurs anymore.
I wanted to get into this.
Yeah, people only want bigger and better. But the problem is, firstly, it doesn't follow it through all the way. So it sets up that idea and it doesn't really give it any like development through the course of the film. It's not like the first Jurassic Park where it explores it, even just in that one dinner scene, which I absolutely love, where the characters are just like throwing ideas across the table.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, there's more to this than just,
arguably the best scene in the original.
Yeah. But the other problems are, firstly, it relies on the idea that people are tired of regular dinosaurs, which by the looks of the park they aren't, because everyone's like having loads of fun and there's still loads of visitors. Like, it would have been more.
Agree. It's the only reason people pointed that out is because there's a bit where there's a T-Rex and then Zach is on his phone, but Zach's always on his phone, so it doesn't work. It's just it's less that people are getting bored of the dinosaurs and more that Zach is just a
well, it would have been like
twat.
It would have been more fun, more creative, and would have made more sense to have the park like dwindling in numbers, and like you see like people don't like the park's messy and there's like garbage everywhere. Like they're having to close exhibits and
also make it like, I think make the park just that bit more tacky. Like make more of the people who
cynical
are working there
like,
who have to reel off these scripts and stuff. I feel like I was actually thinking that. This could have used more of like the Gremlins 2 spirit.
I was literally thinking a lot of Gremlins 2 when I was rewatching it. I'll get into that in a sec. But yeah, sorry. So yeah, sorry, what was I saying?
You were talking about
make it more like scruffy and stuff, and because it's, oh my god, I've completely lost track of my thoughts.
It's the kind of the theme is all about sort of corporate greed, but the film is aware of that.
No, but the reason is, it's a Jurassic Park semi-reboot, so we need to show everything being happy and jolly, because if we show it being run down, we run the risk of everyone thinking, oh, this franchise is tired, we don't really want to be following this anymore. And then the second thing is, what is the second thing?
Let me just.
I don't know why I've just completely lost my train of thought.
That's okay. I understand.
So the second thing is, it relies too much on nostalgia to really like follow through. Oh, these raptors look shit.
I agree.
It relies too much on nostalgia throughout the film to really say, okay, audiences want bigger and better, because it's constantly wrestling with the balance of new ideas and old. Like the ending involves the T-Rex, which Trevorrow says is the original T-Rex from the first film, coming out and killing the Indominus Rex, which represents something almost like are we stuck in an endless cycle of pop culture sort of thing. But it just completely muddles, like the whole film is just muddled in what direction.
And also, they were saying, I think Colin Trevorrow said in an interview that it was the film in a way is about modern blockbuster making, and that people always want bigger and better.
Yeah.
And that's manifested in the Indominus Rex, and therefore, because the Indominus Rex basically kills everyone, the film is about, that's the fact that that's sad, and it's sad to just want bigger and better, and not bigger and better, just bigger, scarier, more teeth is the more phrase exciting. They use. Yeah. But this film falls into everything that it's supposedly criticising. Yeah. It's more of the same and less of the detail. And
that's where Gremlins 2 comes in, because that is a film where Joe Dante clearly said, you want more? I'll give you more, and just went complete carte blanche, and it was the most fucking weird blockbuster to ever be made, and nobody knew what to make of it, and that's why there's no Gremlins 3. And, that's the sort of thing that if you're going to go down that path, that's how far you need to go. You can't do half measures, make this film that's like audiences are so cynical now, they want bigger and better, and then just make a film that is exactly what those audiences would settle for.
And also for it to use like even more boring stereotypes than the original does, and it's trying to do that whole subversive thing. It's frankly unforgivable. It makes it a complete failure. I'm serious. The fact that Owen is such a kind of a perfect hero. Like I was amazed when I watched this film that he doesn't do anything wrong.
No,
he literally constantly from the word go to the end. He
doesn't have any character flaws that he has to fix.
Bryce Dallas Howard is at best a very, very weird representation of women.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, she's made better by the young adult novel Becoming Claire.
I couldn't believe that.
I can't remember what it's called.
There's a young adult novel dedicated to Claire and her.
Was that after? I think they released it after Fallen Kingdom came out. But yeah, there is a young adult novel about Claire. Was her name Claire Deering? Ascending the Jurassic World corporate ladder. So if you want proper characterization, don't go to the cinema, buy the book.
Yeah, it might be a feminist masterpiece.
Probably is. Probably more than we'll ever
It
get
is
in a
probably written by
future
someone
Jurassic
who
World
saw
film.
this and was like, are you fucking kidding?
They proposed it to Universal. They're like, so that you guys don't get a scandal on your hands, I'm going to write this book for you. Also, this part is so stupid. Why does the guy go to fish the pig out? Like, the pig escapes, and then the guy tries to, like, hook it out. Surely you just accept that the pig is probably going to get killed by the raptors.
Well, it's established that it's his first day. Makes total sense, Oliver.
Really?
So
you'd let him that close to the raptors on his first day. This is another problem. Like, I find a lot of like the criticisms of this film often rely on the details in terms of the details of the world, and people say, "Oh, well, it's nitpicking because that's not really to do with the plot." The problem is this film relies so much on the world and its detail that you can't help but nitpick because it's right there at the forefront.
I agree.
It's the complete opposite of the first Jurassic Park film, where it gives you all the character content to begin with, and then it's like half an hour or so until they get to the island, and that's when you start getting the context of the island. Whereas it's in reverse here, where we get overloaded with all this stuff about Jurassic World at the beginning, and then very, very slowly we get little character details, and it just means that our focus is the park and how the way it works, and it means that the problems are kind of glaring.
That's it. Furthers what I was saying about it. It's a wouldn't it be cool film because it's all about the little bits that make up the park, and if there isn't complete internal logic to that, then surely the film's a failure. This is
here we go. He runs over to get the pig.
Oh no, stupid new boy.
Let it go.
I was going to say the bit just then, Vincent D'Onofrio's character as well, is also really badly done in that we've just missed the bit where he basically
comes up with his
cards
idea.
all on the table.
Yeah.
Every single character in this film, it's cards on the table straight away. No one changes beyond their first scene.
Yeah.
Or nothing's, maybe not changes, but nothing's revealed about them beyond their first scene. Vincent D'Onofrio Hoskins, whatever his name is, just basically explained his entire plan.
Yeah,
he just
it doesn't really change.
There isn't kind of you don't know where to stand with him. He's kind of complex. He kind of, he's interested in the raptors, but you don't know why. Let's see if we can develop that. No, it's immediately, I want to use these raptors and militarize them. Evan Owen's like, no, and he's like, well, I reckon I might be back later.
Yeah. Also, this part kind of invalidates the whole working of raptors thing later because it's like. The whole, we're trying to set up that it's all based on trust and we can potentially do this. But then he has to like sprint out and all the raptors like immediately go for him. And it's like this bit here when he has to sprint for the gate. Yeah, it's like, okay, don't trust the raptors.
No, it makes sense though. Like, after all, they're, raptors are nuts, aren't they? They're crazy.
Yeah, but later it's like, oh, we'll work with them on the bikes to take down the Indominus Rex. It's like, we've seen them like completely turn on their trainer. Why is this a good idea?
Well, they're kind of forced by Hoskins, aren't they? I mean, that bit doesn't work at all, and for a number of reasons.
Also, isn't the idea? I know he's kind of meant to be insane anyway, but like, isn't the idea of like militarizing raptors like using tigers in Iraq or something like that? It's like taking some carnivorous animal out there with you and hoping that it doesn't eat the rest of your troop.
It's stupid, but switch your brain off.
Oh, exactly.
Switch your brain off.
The problem with this whole film.
Fun fact: I believe
is Bryce Dallas Howard's son, isn't it?
Is that him? Oh no, I think it's one who's
Oh, it's the one that
clinging
hugs
to a neck.
the Brachiosaurus.
Brachiosaurus's neck.
It's like that one there, yeah, with the cap on.
Yes.
See,
Hello.
that's more of what I would want to see, where it's like the dinosaurs are clearly suffering.
This bit makes me so mad. This will come into my monologue later.
What's this? What were they just?
This is
decide
Zach
to run
being a
off?
cock and leaving poor Zara on her own for saying a comment about a bachelor party.
I like the way we set up that he has a girlfriend, so that him gazing at all the other girls at the park without ever messaging her becomes all the more despicable. Like, they could have cut out the girlfriend, and it would be slightly less problematic. But it just
And also, why is he always on his phone if he doesn't reply to the girlfriend?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
He's a dick.
He's so contemptible. I can't think of
yeah.
a more contemptible character.
He just fucks with his brother and
No, like... The raptors
yeah.
do not look as good as they do in any of the previous ones.
It's because it's not a combo of... I rewatched Jurassic Park 3 before I watched this, and some of the shots in that are fantastic, the way they blend practical with CGI. Like, it will be one shot of a practical dinosaur, and then the next, where it needs movement, it will be CGI, but it will be shot in a certain angle that is less obvious, and then it will very quickly switch back. That's not to say that there are plenty of shots in that film where it doesn't work, because a lot of it's in daylight, where they don't look as good.
For sure.
But that's kind of the way that you do it.
One of the main reasons I think Jurassic Park 3 isn't anything like as bad as people say it is because I think effects-wise, it's probably one of the best. I think...
Yeah. I mean, the CGI dinosaurs are still very much of that era, I think. I don't think they progressed enough from the first film.
I agree, but I think they look better than they do in this one. Arguably.
They almost look less glossy than they are in this one. I
The
think
raptors, just in that sequence there, and in the broad daylight, look incredibly glossy and incredibly...
There's an effect in this that
computery.
really confuses me, where we'll come to it. Oh, here we go. We got just put in some character moment there. Watch out! Our characters may suddenly get upset for some reason.
Oh, don't go all mum on me. It's like, we don't know anything about your mum.
They're getting a divorce. I'm sure we'll cover that scene in detail. Isn't that the next scene?
No,
It's like two scenes
several,
after this.
Several scenes later,
I thought it was like she
this is on a
warns
train.
her, oh, he can be really mean sometimes, and then it cuts to the train and he's being mean. But yeah, no, I there's a shot in this that really confuses me where the raptor heads are in like muzzles coming out of the container, and I read somewhere that that's a practical effect, but it looks way too, like, the movements on the raptors are too fluid.
I'm pretty sure the dying Apatosaurus is the only animatronic.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an animatronic.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
I think that's the only
Yeah.
one. Although I think Colin Trevorrow did want to use more, I want to say.
Yeah.
But,
It's a shame because it's to the detriment of the film.
well, this is the scene that caused uproar, and rightfully so.
See what I mean? This scene, it's like, it's entertaining on an incredibly superficial level, but you read back the dialogue and it's literally them just like being like, I want you to do this. Well, you didn't want me to do this when we had our dates.
That's the thing.
Oh, but I've changed since then. I'm not as uptight as I was back then. Oh, yes, you are still uptight, woman.
Well, that's the thing. Literally one of the first rules of script writing, and it's just one of the basic things you do is know that there's assumed knowledge between characters.
Yeah.
It's one of the most basic things. So you don't have characters just explaining what they already know to each
Yeah.
other. You have to find other ways of giving the audience information.
Yeah.
And the fact that a film of this scale with
With
so
such a
many
history behind it.
yeah,
Yeah.
the fact that they throw that rule out the window is just ridiculous.
Also, they seem incredibly close and incredibly horny considering they only went on one date. But that was one line of dialogue that didn't make sense on second viewing. It's like, that's why you never had a second date. Like, why are they so at each other if they only had one date and she was apparently distracted for so much of it?
I don't know. It doesn't.
This is the thing.
I have nothing to
It's
defend.
dialogue which is super easily accessible. It is the Independence Day Roland Emmerich style of dialogue where it's like you feed someone something and it's like, oh, that's character construction. But then you think about it more and it's like, oh, actually, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's just like incredibly superficial.
And this is the main reason why The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 are both better than this. Because you at least get... they at least know how to tell a story in a proper way. You get nice character moments and story beats.
There's not a lot of it in Jurassic Park 3, but there's enough.
Well, it's not brilliant, but there's little moments. Like one of the moments I really love in Jurassic Park 3. It's such a small moment.
I love that we're going so much.
No, I know.
We've talked more about it than the original.
Well, because
Jurassic Park.
this is boring and it's shit, and everyone knows Jurassic Park 1's amazing.
Yeah.
But no, Jurassic Park 3. I love the bit where they meet the Kirbys for the first time, and then they're trying to convince them to go to the plane. And then they're saying like, "We've done all the sightseeing things, the Galapagos K2," and then Mrs. Kirby's like, "We even had 2 flights reserved on the first commercial flight to the moon." And then William H. Macy just does this little. He does. It's not even like a noticeable reaction. But he just like kind of puts his hand out and just looks like awkward and a bit embarrassed, as if. And it just makes me think that on the car journey there, she was probably like, "Shall I say that?" And he was probably like, "No, Amanda, don't do that."
Don't tell them.
There's
that.
nothing of that kind of detail and that playfulness between the characters in this film at all.
See here, you could have had the arena be like half empty, and everyone's like the trainers being like, "It will come out any second now," and everyone's on their phones, like not paying any attention. Like kids are walking out, you know. I had that at Disneyland. We went to the stunt show, and I remember half the arena wasn't interested, and it was a cool show. It's just something fun to do, and it's reflexive about the audience. But everyone still loves dinosaurs, because if they didn't, the film wouldn't be super entertaining, popcorn. We love it. Wouldn't it be cool, as you say?
I mean, that shot there, when it's like people cheering the dinosaur eating something, is the one shot that kind of makes sense with what the film is claiming to be, which is about it's how we're like thirsty for just like big spectacle, regardless. We're not thinking about what it actually is, which is like an animal eating another, and we're just like cheering that on. But it's that one shot, and it isn't carried through.
Oh, there's some dialogue here about theme parks, or rather not about theme parks, which infuriates me.
That's not how the theme parks
work. So they're
work.
talking about, like, here we go. They're talking about the newest attraction, and they say that they have to refresh things every so often to keep things interested, or keep audiences interested. And she says kind of like the space program, and it's like every theme park in the world does that. You don't need to explain it as being like the space program. You can just say that theme parks update their rides every so often to keep people. It's not an alien concept. You don't need to relate it to something completely unrelated to try and explain to the audience why they keep things fresh. It's a fucking theme park. Fucking malls do that. They add new shops when the old ones aren't selling anything. You close the old shops, you bring in new ones.
We're not stupid.
It's just, where did that come from? The space program. Well, how long ago was the space program? There's probably kids watching this that don't even know what the space program is.
I love how much this has riled you up.
It's just so stupid.
This is definitely the most animated you've been in a commentary.
Even when I'm watching Batman, it wasn't as animated as this.
Also, how contemptible has she been so far? It's just
she hasn't had that moment where you're like, yeah, I kind of want to see this person like rise up the ranks, and I like this person being, you know, part of the management. If this person wasn't here, then things would go out of control.
I mean, that's not to say that, you know, you can't have unlikable characters. It would have been interesting, but again, the film eventually paints her as a hero. She's meant to be your point of identification, and she's just so terrible. Also
here, why didn't they just check like surveillance footage? I mean, it's a heavily vegetated area. Surely the trees are going to move when it's moving around. Or they could have installed motion detectors, and then they, you know, when it camouflages, which surely they should know it can do. If they were the ones who engineered the dinosaur, they would know which dinosaurs they had used and whether it can camouflage.
Also, this bit's so stupid. Claire runs off now to go and to go and like go back to NASA.
Yeah.
She goes to NASA to check.
Why didn't she call them from where she was?
No, but the thing is, she goes to NASA to check, and then Owen and the security guard just walk in and go, well, we'll check now. It's like, why don't you just wait for Claire to say if it's in there or not? It's so stupid.
But that's the thing. Why doesn't she just call them from the compound? Why is she driving there?
Because don't they need her like handprint or something?
No. I'm pretty sure she comes back, doesn't she? Or no, she arrives at the control center after it's broken out. So she could have stayed there, called them, and then driven to the control center if it did break out.
We should be running Jurassic World.
But it's a thrilling scene because now they're in danger, and we like our characters being in danger, right?
But again, wouldn't it be more interesting, this scene, if we knew the Indominus was definitely in there with them? Arguably.
No, because then they do the twist where they say, it's still in the paddock. And
are
everyone
you
goes,
being sarcastic? Because the first way,
Yeah.
it would be like the bomb on the bus thing.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. Okay, good. We're on the same page in terms of films.
Yeah. No, this is a really stupid scene. It's made to make... This is the thing, I feel very bad. It's like when I went to see The Martian, I was like... Oh, no, not Martian.
The Martian.
Alien Covenant.
Boston.
And I was in like a full cinema, and I was thinking, I wonder how many of these people have seen Alien, and like, how many, seen a good version of this concept. Is this the same thing? Like when I went to see this, I was thinking this. So I went to see this in the cinema when it came out with my parents and my sister, and we went to the cinema in Guildford, and it was packed. All these kids in there with their parents, and of course they all get scared because their parents haven't seen Jurassic Park and ignored the 12A rating and brought their 5-year-olds into this film anyway. And it's like, I wonder how many of these people have actually seen Jurassic Park or will ever see it.
It's so sad.
But this is the way films are made now.
And also, we are being very, very critical, but I feel like we're punching up. Because this film's the 5th highest grossing film of all time.
Yes.
It doesn't need our approval. It's shit.
Also, it's a shame that I feel like they should have... They kind of... I grapple with the idea of the Indominus Rex if they could have just used a different dinosaur, because we were saying this. I quite like the use of the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3. And also in Jurassic Park... Again, all this stuff about Jurassic Park 3, I love it.
Jurassic Park 3 is an underrated masterpiece.
It's only a 4 out of 10, folks, but it is a likeable film.
It's got some good stuff in it.
This is such a bad shot. It's so wide. Why is it so wide? It's just
Why
like
is it
it's something
so
out of a
wide?
comedy. You look so stupid sitting there. Just such an awkward shot.
This is the second bit that I actually thought was good because I remember in the cinema, I thought this whole scene, there were way more people around. I remember I misremembered it as there being way more people around, and it was basically just like Chris Pratt having to run away from the Indominus as it destroyed stuff. And what I didn't remember is that he actually finds like an intelligent way to get out of the situation, and it's the only moment I feel like of restraint, because I think it's established that it has like smell confusion because it has T-Rex. I don't know if it's set up.
I can't remember if they said that.
But I was just like, it's nice that it doesn't end in like, it ends in Chris Pratt finding an intelligent way to hide. So that's the second of 3 good moments.
With 2/3 of the way through. But no, sorry. Something else that I like about the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park 3. So I think it was decided that velociraptors were feathered around like 2007. And I'm assuming that it was a developing thing because in Jurassic Park 3 they kind of have like quills on them. They have like weird...
They wanted to bring out the bird element more, I think.
Yeah. Whereas in this they're back to being regular raptors. And you could have like, I don't know, surely there's another dinosaur that they could have introduced. Because also the first Jurassic Park, you got to remember, that was one of the first things not only to use velociraptors, or actually they were based on another species of dinosaur, but popularized velociraptors. People only really know them because of Jurassic Park. But also the design of the T-Rex. You've got to think, before then it was one of those lumbering, very upright, I'm sure you've seen this in sort of 50s films, very upright,
For sure.
sort of very fat lower end, Land Before Time. It looks like that in that, from what I remember. Very like bottom heavy creature, whereas the one in Jurassic Park is much more athletic, much more horizontal.
For sure.
So you can't rely on these films for science too much, but the early ones, I feel, sort of put little bits of that into pop culture. They fed these tiny little scientific bits into pop culture, and this just doesn't really further it at all.
Well, this one's
that doesn't look practical to me.
I don't think it is practical.
No, because look at the nostril flare. It doesn't look.
I'm pretty sure the only practical moment is. But yeah, I think the thing is, the premise of this film is more stupid and wouldn't happen, arguably, than well, I mean, of course, none of them would happen, but the first one is slightly more believable, and therefore I think
it comes across.
weave in these sort of scientific facts and references more.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think it would serve a film this kind of big and dumb to do it. But again, it should have gone further with it. This film should have been completely stupid, in my opinion, and just
Would you have
complete
preferred-
satire.
Yeah.
And
that would have been
the
great,
the Gremlins 2 approach would have been amazing. I think.
genuinely. Like,
Who would you like to see
full
running the
on-
park in the John Hammond position?
Jesus Christ, Donald Glover. No, not Donald Glover. Well, yeah, maybe Donald Glover, but John Glover.
Donald Glover. Oh.
Daniel Clamp running Jurassic Park. I love it. Dinosaurs. Velociraptors with suction cups on their claws. That would be great.
It's disappointing that Omar Sy has nothing really to do in this film.
No, yeah.
Have you seen Untouchable?
No.
Oh, he's
You know,
so good
you know
in
what
it.
I've heard him in?
What?
Transformers 5.
Oh, watch some proper films.
I'm sorry. But
Untouchable is great.
Really, yeah.
It's so good.
But yeah, he just kind of appears, and he's not in the second one, is he? Or Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I didn't get to watch it before this commentary. Didn't get enough time.
No.
It's not a film I would watch on my own volition. to be honest.
It's probably even worse than this, although I liked it a little better. But the only reason I liked it is because the second half this is the divorce comes in. The only reason Fallen Kingdom is slightly better is because Ted Levine's in it,
Right.
and therefore it's automatically better.
And it doesn't aspire to be as lofty as this. I
No.
assume.
I think it embraces the stupidity a bit more. And yeah, Ted Levine.
This is so stupid.
Hey,
to
these
see.
dinosaurs are kind of.
So this is, should we put in quotation marks, backstory for our protagonist, and then it never comes up again. It doesn't inform the plot. It's not reflected in the way any of the family members act. It's just detail put in there without any consequence.
And why is he such a cock in this scene? Like, this on the most superficial level should be the scene that makes you like the boys even more. And it's just like Gray's crying and Zach's terrible.
Yeah. Do you like this transition coming up though, where he looks out the window and the truck that they're in is conveniently on the field, right next to them? Oh, what is that truck over there? Does it have more of our protagonists in it? Oh my god, it does! They're down there.
It doesn't even cut to the trucks immediately.
That shot reminds me of Lost World for some reason.
It felt like
Is
there
that
was. I might be wrong, but feels like there was a failed wannabe match cut in that after the what's the water monster called?
Oh, the Mosasaurus.
Yeah, when the Mosasaurus eats the thing, and then Zach turns to Gray and says, "Do you want to see something really cool?" And then it's not till like 4 or 5 scenes later where you then see them on that train going to somewhere. And then it's like, it takes about 8 or 9 scenes for them to get to that thing really cool.
I hope you forget what the cool thing is. That's exactly it. It's relying on the audience to forget that they're going to something cool.
And it's not even cool. It's just a circle film. Is it cool? I don't know. Write us in, folks. Is it cool?
I like that one thing that got pointed out on the internet for me. This is less of a, because it's just a fun. I find the glass sphere thing fairly fun as an idea, but it doesn't make any logical sense in a safari theme park because it's going to get muddy in 5 seconds. It's rolling around. It's going to get dirt all over it, and you're not going to be able to see out.
They should have cancelled production when they found that out.
You know, that was Steven Spielberg's suggestion. He was like, "I want these big glass spheres to go through the safari park. It's so much cooler."
Oh, and this is the bit where Claire still hasn't done anything good, even after people have died. She's leading these men to her deaths, and she's still only concerned. She hasn't thought about Zach and Gray yet. She's only concerned for. She needs. No.
She needs therapy.
So she hasn't thought about Zach and Gray yet, and she still wants to keep the park open for her own greed purposes. And this is meant to be the protagonist.
Yeah.
And there is something troubling, I'm sorry, from a gender perspective, that the 2 main characters, he is just constantly right and constantly amazing and just consistently resourceful, and she's just completely terrible and an old sort of boring stereotype. It was like the 70s and 80s films that was like a backlash to the feminist movement, where they made a lot of like soulless, heartless, or psychotic successful career women. She feels like that. It's just, it's unbelievable.
And it's not obvious for people to make a big backlash about it.
I love this bit when he just goes,
You just get...
"It can camouflage!"
Yeah. Oh my god, can it? I didn't realise that from the shot where it's camouflaged. Holy shit.
Oh my goodness, there he is.
And it grabs him in one of its big old hands. Why does it have such long arms? What is it actually a hybrid of? So it's Velociraptor. Is it part T-Rex?
And then
Do they say anything else?
Henry Wu explains.
Part of Henry Wu.
I put some of myself in it.
Thought it could do with a human touch.
Also, why did people like that he came back? It's clearly just the only actor they could get.
Well, they were going to get... Richard Attenborough was hooked in for a while until he passed away. And because this film has a long history. I remember in like 2006 frequently visiting the Wikipedia articles for Indiana Jones 4, as it was called back then, and Jurassic Park 4, as it was called back then, and being like, oh, these films are going to come out in 2008. And it took like a decade longer for Jurassic World to come out. But it's gone through loads of different versions, including one where they did have human dinosaur hybrids. I don't know if you knew this.
Oh yeah, yes. No,
There's
I was reading about
concept
that.
art
It was
for
the William Monahan who wrote The Departed was signed up, and so was John Sayles, I believe. I think he's the director of Lone Star. And it's like Richard Attenborough's character. John Hammond sends like a Marine to try and pick up Dennis Nedry's
the capsule
the canister, and then he gets kidnapped by like a scientist in the Swiss Alps,
the island of Dr. Moreau, Jurassic Park style.
Just,
I mean, it would have been really funny if that had gotten made, but sadly we got this instead. Just be thankful that there is a universe out there where it did get made. That's what we're working out next. How to transport between universes. Hey, you're the ruler of this park, right? Do something.
The woman's not listening to me.
Sorry, I don't have any control over this park.
Do you like Chris Pratt in this?
Not really. I remember, because that's the thing. I remember, like, my memory of seeing it was overwritten by the memory of you seeing it. I'd heard you hate on this film.
I was so angry.
And your story, you can cover it in a sec, but I'd forgotten the experience of seeing it until I rewatched it. And I remembered where I saw it and with my family, and I remember my dad and I came out being like, that was really shit. And my mum and my sister were like, yeah, that was quite great. And gradually on the car drive home, we whittled it down, and we basically came across the opinion that it was like, so why did you actually enjoy it? Oh, it was just Chris Pratt. And there wasn't actually any other reason why they really enjoyed it. Oh, God, I hate him so much.
Hey, Zach.
Yeah. Thanks, man. You screwed my chance to cheat on my girlfriend.
So boring. Is that the best we can do in 2015?
Hire me to write the film.
No, but please,
please.
I wouldn't have written that shit. Leering at girls.
This is one little theme park idea.
If a friend of mine did that, I'd slap them.
This is one theme park idea that I kind of like with is it Jimmy Fallon that they have on the screen? It's like, that feels like something that you get in like Disneyland, where because that's also a reference where it's like, you can look at that and think, oh, that's not going to age well. That's always what happens at theme parks. It's like, I remember they had Ellen's World of Energy at Disney World for like ages, and it's like, I guess Ellen's still popular, but it's like, you know, it's all this footage that they recorded in like 2001 that's like still there in like 2014 or something, and it's, you know, stuff that doesn't get updated. So that fits. Like, if you watch this film again in like 10, 20 years time, you're like, who the fuck is Jimmy Fallon? It's like, that fits into the whole theme park thing.
It's the one way in which this film will age.
Oddly, they managed to make satire without even realising it.
Also, there were cuttlefish genes as Henry. What's his name? What's the character called? Is that the actor?
No, B.D. Wong is the actor.
Oh, of course. Oh, cool. I was saying the character's name.
I like the way he's drinking orange stuff, because that's like the amber thing that Hammond had.
Yeah, what's that supposed to mean? Why is it so bad?
See, the villain moment that these two have later on should be more... I'll get onto that when we get to the scene. Maybe it is this scene, actually. Yeah, this is the scene where they're like debating is this your mistake or is it mine?
Because he's saying,
But-
you said be scarier and bigger.
But the problem is, the guy who runs the park, we've only seen him in very quaint ways beforehand, so we don't really know that he has any potential to be bad. So we're kind of on his side automatically for this scene. And then, you know, BD Wong's acting in a really smart, snarky way, so it's like, oh, clearly he's in the wrong here. But then you listen to the dialogue, and they're kind of both in the wrong. So, like, the context, the style doesn't really fit the substance. Where, like, substance-wise, this scene should be like...
That's a good point.
We're both kind of in the wrong. Like, whose fault is it? Or maybe it's both our fault. When actually the style is so, like, heightened blockbuster that it's like... Oh, you're saying that I'm wrong? Excuse me. I was only doing it as I was told. And you're like, yeah, he's the bad guy.
Let me sip my amber mosquito sticky stuff. And
this is the thing. I was thinking about this scene in comparison to the scene where Hammond sits with Laura Dern, Ellie, in the first Jurassic Park. And he's talking about the flea circus. And it's such a great moment for his character because, like, we've seen him as this, like, Walt Disney character through most of the film where he's, like, super passionate about this thing. It's like this crazy idea of his is kind of crazy, but it could work because he really sells it, because he really has belief in it. And then you get to this scene and he's talking about the flea circus. And by this point, you're almost like, is he actually crazy? You're losing faith in him. And the way he says it with, like, the look in his eyes, you're like, is he really just chasing this mad dream? And the way Ellie, like, looks at him and interacts with him.
I was thinking about, when I was thinking about Jurassic Park, that John Hammond's character is so brilliantly constructed. It's such a... he so easily could have been a lazy stereotype.
Well, he was much more evil in the book, from what I hear.
And
unfortunately, I haven't read it. But...
And I don't know if it was Richard Attenborough. I imagine Steven Spielberg was a big part of it as well, because I think he has a history of turning these potential stereotypes into much more fully fleshed characters. Did the same with Richard Dreyfuss in Jaws. Yeah, I think you're completely right. You kind of see him as just this kind old man, and you associate him with the spectacle you're seeing when you first see the Brachiosaurus, and you think about all the wonder and all, like, that it reminds you of being a child again. And then the film slowly brings you round to the idea that the fact that he is essentially a child.
Yeah. But that's the thing,
problem.
and that scene keeps it ambiguous. It leaves it up to you. Is this guy a villain or is he a hero? And that's something that scene lacks between BD Wong and Irfan Khan. It's like,
sure. Well, maybe less hero and villain, more like is should we sympathise with him?
Yeah. Oh, all these people are gonna die.
Oh yeah, my nephews.
I have children on this island too.
Or maybe I should call Zara.
Probably should have evacuated the park.
Who's the only reason they're alive?
Surely if an animal broke out of a safari, they'd evacuate the park literally immediately.
Well, no, she said we'd never open again. Claire's a dick.
That's a bit of a jump to make, though, isn't it?
The what?
Well, taking safety precautions means you.
None of it makes sense.
We need to explain to the audience instantaneously why we can't take the sensible option. Come up with an excuse. We'll never open again.
Oh, this is another example. It does the thing that horror movies get stick for, and yet films like this somehow get away with it. It's just that, the plot needs us to not have phone signal right now.
On this island,
and yet later on, she's running around everywhere in far more kind of like wildernessy circumstances and gets perfect signal.
You think they'd make the signal good for a safari park where people are going to be in the middle of nowhere doing operation stuff? And they need signal to communicate with the main centre. Again,
this is the first point in which she shows evidence of caring for other people, but it's clearly been established in the call with her sister that, she has something to prove to her and needs to show that, she's not like a bitch. So the way I see it is her wanting to find the two boys is motivated entirely by not getting into trouble with her sister. She's evil.
Do not care for this person, folks. I like those dinosaurs fighting in the background. Never noticed that. Tussling with each other.
An exceptional detail.
Well, it's the same thing that you get with most of these films where there's no real thought put into the actual film, but you can see that the animators clearly had... that's clearly their job. They're, like, putting effort into the animations.
What do you think of the sound design of the dinosaurs?
It's okay. I think it's gradually gone downhill over the course of the franchise because the first film, it's still Gary Ridstrom. I think he did.
Gary
was he
Ridstrom
the sole,
supervised it for this one.
because he was the sole sound designer for the first film, I think. And the sound design in that is absolutely. Well, I mean, you don't forget the
there's real
you
texture to the to the roars they make.
Absolute like textbook. It's up there with like Star Wars in terms of like memorable sound effects. Lost World, I would struggle to remember some of the sound design from that because there's the one Jurassic Park, well, other than Fallen Kingdom, that I didn't rewatch for this. Jurassic Park 3, they kind of give the Spinosaurus like a sort of wolf roar, which is kind of cool. It's not very distinctive, but it works well.
I think the raptor sounds in Jurassic Park 3 I remember being
it's the
very
call
well
from
done.
that where they like
The one like,
the community. Yeah, is that from 3? They don't do that in 1 at all. I thought they did it in the kitchen.
They might do, but I think maybe I just watched Jurassic Park 3 more weirdly as a kid. I do remember that feeling very, very
Yeah, no, that's a
tangible.
good sound effect. But I think that's from 1, that's the thing. But then this, I can't really remember what the Indominus actually sounds like. I can't remember like a distinctive call for it.
It's just sort of like a slightly crazier T-Rex. I quite like it actually. I think the way they kind of mix up the more sort of wolf, lion, kind of deeper raw sounds with kind of higher pitched ones.
Yeah.
Like when they use like dolphins and kennels, I think it just makes it sound a bit more distorted and weird. Like I think it is believable as a big dinosaur that
Like
was
genetic
made in like a fucked up
engineered,
lab.
yeah,
I do
like
think
artificial.
I do think its roar is quite well
Okay.
done. But again, it's accompanied by it can camouflage.
That's part of the sound design to you. That's one of the great sound effects of this film is him screaming, "It could camouflage!" See, in this, I just don't get the same fear from them as from the kids in the first film when they're being attacked by the
No,
T-Rex.
I think
It's like a direct comparison scene, isn't it?
I'd agree. Actually, I'd agree.
And also,
Again,
the use
not
of
much to
the
work with.
animatronic head in that scene is incredible. Like when they turn the light on and you see it's like iris. Like,
We're talking about the original.
yeah,
now,
shrink, and it's like when it like blows steam on the. Oh, it's just so tangible.
That is one of sort of cinema spectacles.
Yeah.
Really classic moments. It's just stunning, that scene.
Yeah. Whereas they just shouldn't have cut to that wide there, or this. It would have been more effective to keep it in the same way in that scene with the kids in the Jeep, where most of it is kept inside the Jeep to keep you in there. Whereas seeing it from a distance, you see how almost cartoony the movements of the animal are, and it just kind of loses its sense of sort of immediacy.
Is that and it's a mistake of the film to try and strive for the same levels of excitement that the first one does, because they admit themselves that, you know, we've seen dinosaurs like this for ages now in films, like for 20 years. So the only way of like it blows its load immediately because you see full-on wide-shot CGI dinosaurs immediately. There isn't any of the build-up. Like the first wide shot of a dinosaur you see in the first one, I'm pretty sure, is when the T-Rex breaks out of the gate, isn't it?
No, it's the Brachiosaur when they see them.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
but
It's
that
the
is
first of a
there's
T-Rex.
so much build up to that. Yeah,
and it's all that scene is completely constructed by little close-ups, little things like you see a foot, you see a head, you see the eye.
Absolutely. I mean, the first scene with the raptor, where I mean, if you had no context, you wouldn't even know if there's a raptor in that cage.
But yeah, you
really
can't
tastefully.
possibly replicate the awe with this film. It should have been a comedy.
And I feel like they shouldn't, because I know some people are like, oh, the product placement works because it's kind of like a real theme park. But I feel like they should have used fictional brands because, again, it just feels like modern product placement. Maybe in a film in like the 90s or the 80s, you could have used this extent of product placement to create that kind of atmosphere. But in a world where we increasingly get all of these blockbusters using really blatant product placement, this just sort of blends in with that. It doesn't have anything to say otherwise. Whereas
No,
it
needs to push it more to the forefront. It needs to, like, they literally, like, there should be characters like holding Starbucks up to the screen.
Well, no, like, and sponsoring the exhibits, like it should say Gyrosphere, brought to you by Verizon or something like that. And
yeah.
it's like, shoving it in your face, like a real theme park attraction.
So this is the one animatronic that's used.
And everyone's like, aren't the effects awesome? Practical effects live.
Who was it that was brought in? Was it? I think
Phil
it was.
Tippett.
Yeah. Was it? Is it Legacy, the special effects studio?
What, to make that dinosaur?
Just to make the
particular?
animatronics, because it's
Really?
a different team. To
Of course, because I can't remember. I can't remember if Stan Winston Studio is still doing stuff.
I think it was people who worked with Stan Winston. He passed away
in 2008. But obviously, he and his studio did the original films.
So again, I'm sorry that I'm talking so much about Claire's arc, but
you care about this character.
Okay, so this should be the big moment. This is the big look at her face there. Look at her. She's getting upset, and I think this is the big moment where she's stroking the Apatosaurus, and she's thinking, "Fuck yeah, we're
dealing with animals.
Yeah, these are living things. Yeah. Owen was right. Of course, Owen was right. He's perfect. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. These are living things, and I need to respect that. But if you look at the two major actions she takes from this point on, one of them is shooting the pterodactyl to save Owen, and the second is luring the T-Rex to fight the Indominus Rex to save the humans. So it doesn't make any sense that her big turning moment is, oh no, the dinosaur's dying, because all she does later on is try and kill dinosaurs or use them to be killed. And the only reason she wants to save the boys is because she's scared she'll get told off by her sister. And she's the hero. It doesn't make sense.
Wow, you're upset. Yeah, I am too.
I am too, because this Bryce Dallas Howard, she can be good. Honestly, I know you're not a huge Black Mirror fan, but the episode that she's in, she is really, really good. And if you want proof that Bryce Dallas Howard,
he comes in Jen. Do you like the use of the military at the end of Jurassic Park 3? They suddenly all appear on the beach. God bless you, Ellie.
She got the
Where
Navy,
the fuck did this all come from?
And the Marines.
What the fuck?
And they just show up out of nowhere.
There's like several landing
Where did
craft.
the guy come from? It's like Dr. Graham.
The guy on the suit, in the suit with the speaker. That film is bonkers. We'll get into that when we run out.
Oh, another reason all the military people reminded me. Another reason The Lost World is good-ish is I do like Pete Postlethwaite's character in it.
Yeah, I like the concept of The Lost World, like hunters versus ecologists on the island and trying to work together. It's just very, very flatline for most of it, and some very stupid moments. But there are some fun, like
the scene on the cliffs is good.
It's memorable. Don't know if it's.
It is good. It's good. It's memorable because it's well done.
It's memorable because it's distinctive, not particularly because it's good.
What's bad about it?
There are things about the Transformers films that are memorable and not good.
What's bad about the cliff scene?
It's kind of predicated on a completely stupid idea that they brought in the T-Rex baby to perform surgery on it for some reason, when they're all about leaving the dinosaurs alone in the first place.
Well, they want to save the dinosaur, and they're arguing the whole time about doing it. It's silly motivation for Julianne Moore, but they establish that she is kind of kooky and a bit like, oh, peace and love, I want to save the dinosaurs.
It's okay. It's not awful.
When she falls on the glass, you telling me that wasn't tense?
I just don't care about any of those characters.
Eddie Carr's the real hero of the Lost World.
I remember that moment. That's gruesome, that bit. Is that the most gruesome death in the Jurassic Park? Oh, no. We've got this to come.
Oh, the monologue.
This but see, she's becoming tough girl now. You said this character has no agency or purpose.
The way she just took some of her
there you go. Undercut the feminist moment. Women are silly.
He doesn't give him some complexity.
I'm real good at hunting dinosaurs.
That's not how he speaks. Come on.
Didn't think you'd notice.
Come on.
I remember when this came out, there was a general tone of, this guy could be the next Indiana Jones. Do you get that from this performance?
I can see what people mean. I think he would be a boring choice. I don't think he'd be bad, but...
To be honest, I think he would probably be, for me, the best choice, but it depends on the script. it would have to be more than this.
I mean, I'd rather they just didn't, but...
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, no, that would be the preference.
I mean, I like Chris Pratt, but I think Chris Pratt... I think the Guardians of the Galaxy role is definitely his sort of peak role. I think he's...
Yeah,
I think,
he fits that like a
if anything, I think he's just a bit... No, I mean, maybe he could do it. He's kind of unproven, but in terms of doing something a bit serious, I think Harrison Ford, there's a
He's got a
slightly
goofiness
grittier
to
level.
him as well. Like a
No,
natural
he's got a
goofiness.
goofiness, but I think he can do both things,
Yeah.
which is why it
Oh, yeah,
works.
yeah, yeah.
He's very very credible in the action sequences, and yet there's also a big goofiness to him. Whereas I think we've only really seen goofiness from Chris Pratt. This I don't count as seriousness because I think it's just boring.
And stuff like this kind of just makes the world of Jurassic Park feel that much smaller, that they're like retreading the same ground. Because there's no real purpose for them to be in the old visitor centre other than to plug all the old references. Like, they go and fix a Jeep, but that could be in any old like service station on the island.
And also the moment where they fix the Jeep is terrible because he just says...
Do you remember when we fixed Mom's old
No,
Corvette?
fix Grandpa's old Malibu?
That's it.
It's like, what the... Come on.
Also, is this symbolic? Where they like use the banner, they just burn the banner to like...
Out with the old and in with the new. Hey?
But that's the problem. The film is so reliant on nostalgia, you can't take it seriously. It's like, you don't really mean that.
Well, I actually have a quote from Colin Trevorrow, which I think is worth reading.
I actually wanted to burn the banner.
Well, he said at one point, because I think he was asked in an interview, there's a bit where like a CGI dinosaur rips, I think the Indominus rips the head off a model T-Rex later on.
Right.
And he was asked about that, and it was like, was that some kind of comment about CGI sort of taking over? And then he was talking about Steven Spielberg and how he really respected animatronics. And then he said, I get excited by something because I think it's awesome, and I don't necessarily think of all the ways it will be interpreted by people.
He did say, yeah, I remember him saying something similar about something else. I think I was reading up on the themes of it. I'm trying to get... Because you go on Wikipedia and there's a section that's like themes and interpretations. And I was like, oh, I want to read into this. And you click all the links and it's just people saying, it's about this. And it's like one sentence in an interview and nothing to back it up. But, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, with this, you finish with the Tyrann...
There it is. Sorry, keep going.
We can fix this 92 Jeep Wrangler.
Hey, Gray, I reckon the plot needs us to do this.
Did they cut you from the team? It's literally that moment for this film. Only that's
it's
better
worse.
because
It's worse.
that was set up.
It's set up. It's set up in the beginning. We find that she does
Yeah, she
gymnastics.
does.
And as stupid as it is when she does gymnastics, we're like, oh, they said it earlier.
Yeah.
Whereas now, it's like, oh.
They can fix cars now.
Do you remember, Gray, that we can fix cars? Oh, yes, Zach. Terrible.
But
You were saying something more interesting.
no, because the Tyrannosaurus kills the Indominus at the end anyway, which is very much like nostalgia will always save the day. Whereas that's something I love about Jurassic Park 3 is that they kill the Tyrannosaurus like half an hour into the film. It just gets its fucking neck broken by Spinosaurus, and it's like, wow, that's dead. And then that takes over, and it's like, it's kind of, that whole film is kind of post Jurassic Park. So I go into why I like it. I don't know.
I want to hear this actually. I was surprised. I just think it's competent, and I think really H. Macy's good.
He is as Kirby. Was it Will Kirby?
Paul Kirby. Kirby Enterprises.
Kirby, because Kirby like tile and
They call it Kirby Paint and Tile Plus. Plus stands for bathroom fit. Now, fellas, I can make this up for you. Ever need a bathroom? Me and my brother always quote that. He's like, this is good. This is good.
This is good.
Worst place in the world, not even being paid.
It's not a great film. Unfortunately, it doesn't live up to... Because the first...
hype.
It doesn't, no. Here we go. Paying off the whole helicopter. He does this like 3 times in the film, or is this the... No, he crashes this point.
Why do you like Jurassic Park 3? This is boring.
Because the first half hour is like completely acknowledging the audience viewpoint of the Jurassic Park series. It's like general audiences don't really care about the themes of the environment. They want to see dinosaurs fuck each other up. And like the whole first half an hour, the first sign that the film knows what it is talking about is when it comes up with the Jurassic Park on the black background. and gets ripped by the claws. It's like, we are not doing this. Forget the serious tone. We are doing a weird monster movie with slightly subversive tones. And then, like, the bit before they get to the island is everyone just, like, treats dinosaurs like shit, except for Sam Neill. It's like, everyone's like, would you go back to Jurassic Park? It must have been so cool. Oh, and he's like, the dinosaur man. He's like, oh yes, I'm the dinosaur man.
Dinosaur man.
Yeah, like he's the perfect, like, of all of the characters you could have gotten to return for that role. Yes, Sam Neill, and yes, what's his name? Alan Grant. That character, because he's so, like, apathetic about it. And, like, you watch Sam Neill in interviews now, and everyone's like, do the quote from Jurassic Park, and he's like, oh, okay. Like, everyone is, like, so hyped up about dinosaurs without really caring what they actually are, and, you know, they want to visit the island and are like, we've done everywhere, and now we want to go to this wonderful island and have a flight over it. And he's like, there's a fucking island filled with monsters and you don't understand it.
Exactly. He's really good in it.
And the whole film takes that tone of, like, being really sarcastic about, you know, the audience wanting to see monsters fight each other rather than the actual deeper meaning of it. But the sad thing is that it starts to lose its pace.
Oh, it definitely gets
on,
boring.
and it doesn't have as much content to it in the second half, and it lacks a climax. It doesn't really have a climax.
No, definitely not. It goes downhill when the last of the mercenaries dies, I think. Is it Udesky?
Oh, yeah.
Because then there's no more sort of character deaths after that. And everyone kind of, it feels completely safe and that everyone's fine now.
Yeah. But there's even quite, like, subtle stuff, like at the beginning when we're introduced to Billy, good old Billy, the sidekick. It does, like, instead of a pull back from the dinosaur's fossil, like in the first film where you see everyone, like, digging the dinosaur fossil out, and it's like this real, like, moment of, like, knowing what these people are, who these people are, and what their industry is about. Instead, it, like, zooms in on it, and he's, like, lying with this girl, and, like, they're trying to, like, reveal it, and they're, like, flirting with each other and this dinosaur. It's like they don't really care about the fossil, they're more interested in each other. It's like little moments like that. And my favourite shot of the whole film is when just before the T-Rex gets killed. So they've just escaped the Spinosaurus for the first time. They go through the grass and the corpse is there, and they're like, oh man, gross. And then the T-Rex raises its head. And it's an animatronic, and it's only for, like, two shots in the whole film.
I watched that scene the other day, and it looks great. There's a bit where it's okay, it's dead, and then it goes, like, it comes up.
And it's like this wide shot of all of them standing there looking up at the T-Rex. It's the funniest shit in the world. And, like, Sandy was like, do not move a muscle. And then everyone just runs anyway. It's like nobody gives a shit.
Nice.
It's the funniest shot,
There's
and
nice
it makes
in
sense in the whole theme of the film. It's like, nobody cares what these dinosaurs actually do. It's a fucking monster. You're going to run away. But
then it does just come to running away from dinosaurs.
Yeah, it could have been a masterpiece.
Birdcage bit's good.
Yeah, there's some fun ideas in there. Like the bit on the boat with the Spinosaurus is quite cool. Maybe a bit long, but it's a nice little set piece.
And William H. Macy comes through.
Exactly, yeah. Classic character actor, William H. Macy.
Exactly. This is the only one that doesn't have an actor who automatically makes films better. So Fallen Kingdom has Ted Levine, who immediately raises films a star. William H. Macy immediately raises films a star.
Vince Vaughn.
I was going to say Pete Postlethwaite. I do like Vince Vaughn in Lost World. I think his character's quite good.
The
he's
bizarre thing that the Lost World does is it makes Jeff Goldblum boring, which is like something you thought you'd never see.
Oh no, that's what I mean. The thing about The Lost World is, like, Jeff Goldblum and Julianne Moore, so obviously both great actors, both unbelievably boring, and the kid's boring as well. However, there's a number of more interesting side characters in it. I like Pete Postlethwaite's good. Peter Stormare's quite fun.
I forgot Peter Stormare's in it.
Yeah, I like his whole death scene is good. I like that, and I think I like that The Lost World. I think that all the darkest stuff is in the Lost World.
I suppose that's one of the dinosaurs they introduced in Lost World, isn't it?
The
little tiny
Carpies,
ones.
yeah.
I hate this shot coming up. It's like, it doesn't fit in with the franchise at all. This. Dinosaur
it's so Transformers.
It's so awesome. You can just
Vivian
I'm
crying.
pretty sure they use that in all of the trailers. But yeah, that's why I love Jurassic Park 3. Love it.
There's
enough
also a
to
problem
give it
with
4 out of 10.
it annoys me. Vincent D'Onofrio, mixed feelings.
He's again great actor,
But
poor character.
But he's hit and miss with his performances. Even sometimes within singular performances.
I'm surprised they didn't do more with that dome just now to like link it back to Jurassic Park 3. I suppose no one wants to remember Jurassic Park 3 except for me.
So, did you watch Daredevil, the TV series?
No.
Okay,
He's the Kingpin,
yeah,
isn't he?
so basically his interpretation of the Kingpin is fantastic. It's really, really good and original, and it's a much more sort of sensitive, socially anxious version of the character, which is great. Having said that, as it goes through the series, you just realise that he like...
kind of coasts
it's a
on
perfect idea, but he doesn't... He coasts on it, and he kind of just says every line like this.
Yeah.
And there isn't actually much more to it than that. And oh no. And great in Full Metal Jacket.
Great in Men in Black.
You
need to
haven't
rewatch
seen it all the way
that. It's a
through.
good film. This is a weird, funny moment.
Oh, that's the bit where the popcorn chomping masses go. Look at
It's when all the 5-year-olds stop crying for a moment.
They looked up at the same time. Don't know what that voice was.
God,
I was trying not to do like a regional accent for the stupid people. See, look, Zara! It's coming up. Zara is doing her best here.
She genuinely is doing her best to like try and find them. It's not her fault that the boys ran off in the middle of a crowd.
When should I do my monologue?
I'd say when they start descending upon this bit.
I didn't know if you had any other comments on.
I'll probably add to what you have to say, to be honest.
Where it's all about Zara and how filmmakers handle death in films.
Go for it. I mean, ladies and gentlemen,
no more comments on how the pterodactyls fly into the people and.
I think it's kind of fun a little bit. It's one of the few moments
put it
when
on the
they
poster.
Exploit the. Yeah.
It's kind of fun a little bit.
Yeah. It's fun until they do the Zara thing, because it's like, this is fun. All the dinosaurs like eating the food and harassing people.
And also, did you say this to me? It's the only time where they actually make use of the premise that the park is open.
Yeah. It's the only part where you see visitors being harassed by the dinosaurs.
Other than that, you don't need the park to be open for the story to work.
Other than the fact that...
See, this is an example. Like, I like... This character would have been so much more interesting if he can have the same motivation, but he's genuinely like... he convinces himself that like the public are in danger and therefore he has to do this, whereas instead he's just sneering at the screen. This is another moment. Watch out for this. Why did she throw him a gun?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
He's already got one on his back.
But yeah, do you know what I mean about
that tranquilizer?
Hoskins' character? Like now he looks at it and he just like sneers and is like, this is my chance. Yeah. As opposed to like, shit, I've got to do something, but then just does completely the wrong thing. It's like that's not a choice. Okay, here it is.
Confirming something he already wanted to do.
So here we have the Zara's demise.
So out of place.
And it's just look, it's Zach and Gray running away from her, being annoying. Oh, and here we go. So, this is my monologue entitled "Why Zara's Death is One of the Most Misjudged Scenes in Recent Film History." So let's start by asking, why does Zara warrant this death? Zara is lumped with the kids because Claire is a selfish workaholic sociopath who doesn't care about her nephews or anyone else for that matter. Zara responds badly towards them because Gray keeps running off and Zach's a rude, self-centered, stroppy little bastard. The kids run away from her because Zach sees her making a snide, bridezilla-ish comment, which is a terrible, boring stereotype anyway. She makes that on the phone, so they run off, knowingly putting her in a great amount of unnecessary stress. Incidentally, the phone comment is, because it's my wedding, no Alex not having a bachelor party because all his friends are animals. Now, personally, I seriously doubt Zara's exaggerating. I'd bet anything that Alex's friends are a bunch of club-dwelling, horrible football-chanting knobs. And I bet Zara is one of the only women in their lives with the strength and conviction to stand up to them. Budding misogynist and aspiring adulterer Zack doesn't like this, so they run off and make Zara's last day on this earth a stress-fueled living hell. And as they run off, happy string music plays, so we know Colin and his film are in support of Zack's fuckboy recklessness. When Zara and Claire speak on the phone, she seems flustered and genuinely concerned. After all, the two boys have run off in a fucking dinosaur park. And Zara cares more about whether they live or not than Claire. Zara continues her mission to find the boys, regardless of their brattishness, ringing Claire when she spots them on the surveillance. The last words she says to the boys is, "Don't just stand there," presumably to save the boys' lives. And for that, she's given that horrible, mean-spirited death, which walks a tightrope between being genuinely nasty and just being like, "Cool, look at this death, cool."
Well done.
It really makes me mad.
No, it is.
And as I'm on my feminist rant, Colin and Chris agreed to put the kiss in between them without consulting Bryce. And sorry, I know that this sounds like I'm taking the piss now, but I genuinely don't agree with that manner of direction. I think if Bryce had known that before that, she's an actor and could have...
Oh, wait, it was improvised?
Yeah, they did it the first time. And it's not even I'm not even tackling this from like a consent issue. It's just like she's an actor and she could have had a choice to respond to that kiss properly. Like, trust her to do it. You don't have to do the stupid kind of like, oh well, it was in the moment, so like she responded more to it.
Coming up like that in a second.
So
who are all these guys?
Who are these guys?
This is weird. This little moment.
Just to show they're evil. Everybody goes like,
yeah, he like laughs. It's like, yeah, what?
But after that monologue, I think it really, really encapsulates Zara's death. The way that this film absolutely doesn't know how to handle its characters' arcs, and it's a mainstream family film that doesn't know how to handle death either. And I think I read this really great article. Maybe put a link in the YouTube video, which is all about how kind of death, in particularly mainstream films, has a sort of a cinematic language of itself, and there has to be either a logic to it, or you have to embrace the fact that there's no logic to it. And I just, it's her character is so poorly constructed, and because they give her a death that doesn't suit what's come before, it feels really, really mean-spirited.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It based on what you've been told about her, what you've experienced with her, it's completely out of proportion. And it is a sort of a spectacular death, because they do the slow motion with the mosasaur at the end. It's clearly like, wow, isn't it cool that she got eaten by the pterodactyl? Why is it nighttime now? Did it really take them that long? Didn't she got eaten by the pterodactyl, and then the mosasaur ate the pterodactyl. It's so cool.
It's even worse that it's technically well executed in that like it pans all across. And incidentally, Katie McGrath, the actress, like did the stunts all herself. Like she was literally lifted up into the air. She was taken up and out of the water.
Yeah.
And I think Colin Trevorrow was like, I think it's just the most epic Jurassic Park you could imagine. But again, it's like that all amounts to nothing because you've constructed the character so badly. Like compare it to the original Jurassic Park, where Gennaro, like the lawyer, well, he's much more fleshed out, but he's essentially a bit annoying, doesn't deserve to die. But there's a real brilliant. It's brilliant that they see the T-Rex coming, he abandons the children to go and hide, and then everyone gets terrorized in that scene, but it ends with the T-Rex walking into his hiding place, and there's a real great sense of irony that he run and hid, and yet he's the only one to die because the T-Rex stumbles across his hiding place.
Same with Dennis Nedry.
Exactly.
He's the one to escape.
Well, all of them are. Even the park ranger, who's actually a good, nice character.
Yeah.
It's all set up perfectly because you know that he spends all his time studying the raptors, and yet one of them outsmarts him, despite the fact that all he talks about is raptors.
And he kind of acknowledges it as well.
And
he's
like clever girl.
Sort of thing. Yeah.
And this film just, none of the major character deaths are constructed with any degree of wit or irony or emotion.
I'd say the Vincent D'Onofrio one is slightly better judged.
Oh yes.
But we'll come
that's
to
an
that.
exception.
Yeah.
But again,
it's kind of a subversion for the sake of it rather than anything particularly constructive.
A big problem I have, I mean, I guess it wouldn't like work tonally, but so he's just been forced to do this raptor plan.
Yeah.
This is what you brought up earlier, and yet he's not in this scene where he's explaining what to do with Vincent D'Onofrio's soldier. There's no sense at all that he's conflicted about it.
No, he just goes for it, doesn't he?
And then he says in a second to Claire, "This is a bad idea." It's like, show us, Chris.
Yeah,
show us.
yeah.
I mean, it's probably...
Or just show a moment where he's with the raptors and he's kind of, Good one, Colin. I'm glad you're still, you got a bit of your filmmaker spirit inside of you.
For those not...
Maybe Stephen was on set that day.
For those not listening with the film, Oliver said that and it literally cut to a shot of Chris Pratt stroking one of the raptors.
I didn't remember that, genuinely. It's not... That is my prediction.
You need to see that he's conflicted about the plan and not just in a kind of cool, well, I'll wing it sort of way. Like, this is what he's passionate about. He's passionate about not weaponizing the raptors.
Weaponizing the raptors? Just... What does that even mean? It means get soldiers working with raptors and getting eaten very soon.
This is the final good moment in the film. It's a well-constructed visual gag.
This.
Yeah. Wait for it.
Oh yeah, doesn't he stretch his hand out?
Yeah. It's good.
But even then, it doesn't make sense though.
It does.
Does it?
Yeah, that works with his character. And they give it they give it the right amount of time.
You know, he was originally...
But that's a moment that I could kind of believe after, like, what they've been through in the dinosaur park.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's, like, the best moment in any film ever.
It's not done with
I'm clutching
dialogue.
at straws. I don't want this commentary to just be, like...
Sorry, yeah.
Just to be us shitting on
I
it.
agree, yeah. It's communicated visually, which is nice. Makes a nice change.
Oh, is this... Is this another remember when we did this?
Yeah. Don't worry about the lack of connection we have here. Remember when we were connected a few years ago?
Don't worry, Nick Robinson. You'll be in a better film soon. Love Simon's just round the corner.
Oh, you know that the Grey character was originally written to be autistic, which explains some of the like sort of spontaneous moments. I know I'm going to come across really insensitive now. I shouldn't have been the one to...
One second. Chris Pratt is using the piece of meat from the Indominus Rex. So it's the film being like, oh, we're really smart because remember he took it off earlier. Where did Chris Pratt get it? It was left out with the Marines. Yeah.
Did the Marines bring it back? Was he in the he was in the control room?
He was at the control room.
Yeah.
You could even, as ridiculous it would be, you could even have a moment where him and Claire stumble across it, and he's like, this could come in handy.
Wait, didn't I thought he did?
He doesn't.
You sure when they're going to the visitor centre they don't find it?
No.
Okay.
I might be wrong. I'm really, really sorry. I might be wrong if I'm wrong.
I don't remember that being an issue. I remember
it's the smallest thing in the world, but it's got me riled up.
No, yeah. But no, like the stuff where like the mum rings up and she's like, he can get upset really easily by his brother. Oh, and it's like, what? Where does that come from? It kind of makes sense if there's been scenes cut and in an earlier draft he was autistic and like maybe reacted to things slightly differently. Or like,
I know what you mean in that like I'm aware that was brought up earlier, but I don't think that's something that needs... I mean, that's a really clunky line of dialogue.
Oh, yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, it's made clunkier by the fact that they probably wrote that out. Is it that character trait?
Yes, I suppose.
I'm being insensitive now, so I'll shut up.
I don't think you're being insensitive. I just think it's
just something I can't really talk about with any kind of authority. Meanwhile, your boyfriend is badass. You are not badass for all
the way you always say badass.
Badass. About Omar Sy, he's badass as well.
He has a badass.
What do you think of the people in the control room, their characters?
See, I have a soft spot for Jake Johnson because I like him in the first 2 seasons of New Girl, and I like his voice work
in Spider-Man.
In Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah. I'd forgot his character really doesn't work in Safety Not Guaranteed. That doesn't work at all.
You don't know where it's going half the time because he like.
Well, he's a joke. Like he's a joke character, and everything he says is kind of horrible.
Yeah.
And I think they do it. They try and establish that kind of quirky, like, ooh, like he's a funny guy. He's a funny
Yeah.
guy. Look at what he's saying. Everything's outrageous.
Isn't this guy like misguided?
Yeah, and they try and give him like something more to do, and I just think his performance as well is a bit confused in it. I think he never knows whether to play it more seriously or be or to like, or just be quirky and funny the whole time.
I like the way earlier Chris Pratt said, "What other gene did you use in the Indominus Rex?" And then purely for dramatic reasons, they didn't answer that question, so that we can have this moment.
Oh yeah, she says classified, and Henry Wu doesn't
Why?
even tell
Yeah.
the other guy.
No. Why? So that this moment can happen and the audience can go,
surprise.
"Oh my god, it's got a Velociraptor gene in it."
Oh no. I know why they wouldn't tell us what his moment.
They...
So do you think Claire knew? No, she couldn't have done.
No.
Yeah, she would have said.
But that doesn't make any sense.
She's not
because
that
she's the one
evil.
selling the creature. Why would they want to withhold that? Like, surely it's like a big selling feature that it has Velociraptor DNA in it. It's like, wow, you want to sponsor this dinosaur? It's got the nastiest dino DNA in it possible.
Bingo! Dino DNA. Why aren't we watching the first one?
We'll do that someone to recuperate. You know, I think that prop auction that I'm going to soon, I think they've got an animation cell of Mr. DNA.
Oh, did it? Oh, I think
maybe
you
that was
showed
a
me
different
that.
one.
I think I remember seeing that in the picture. Oh, the beard guy who shot the bird is that, what was it, a bird? Was it a pterodactyl?
Wait, what?
The guy who shot the pterodactyl on the helicopter.
Oh, yeah.
He was just behind Chris Pratt. I can't remember if they do anything with him.
Get killed in 2 seconds. I mean, this is kind of the Lost World again, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
that's another
dinos in
bit
the
that I
field.
think is good in the Lost World.
Yeah, that seems pretty good.
Not into the long grass.
Yeah.
Because that whole bit has this kind of uncanny jungle beat to it, which is quite effective.
Yeah, no, that kind of lives up to the concept a little bit more. I like one of the smarter bits in Jurassic Park 3, which I quite like, is when he finds out that they have the Velociraptor egg, and rather than like instantly being like, we've got to get rid of this, or instantly having like the Velociraptors descend upon them, he's like, we'll keep this because if they come across us, you know, at least we have something to present them with, rather than them just instantly slaughtering us because we don't have the egg that they saw us steal. There's like at least a little bit of a through line there.
It's
for
nice
it to make sense.
You know better than the people who built this place.
You know, the last thing I said to him was...
Our impression of Sam Neill is just Harrison Ford's Blade Runner voiceover.
Cold fish. Also this where like we root for him but then nothing happens. He doesn't even show up in the
root
second
for him
one.
because it's Omar Sy.
Yeah.
I don't root for him because he's a character.
It doesn't really pay off that he survives. He could die here and it wouldn't make any difference to the plot.
I don't think you really see. I think he directs. Weirdly, you see him at the end directing Zack and Gray's parents.
Yeah, you see him in the recovery center, but that's just to like show where he is, because you literally don't see him again between now and then. I don't think.
There's literally nothing really to say from now on.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. This is
It's just
this point on is.
Should we talk about Book of Henry?
Oh my god, what do you want to say about Book of Henry?
I don't know.
Because to be honest, I was
It's an interesting
Oh, this
modern
is a
film.
stupid moment as well, like the bloody hand thing. Because he just walks up to it and puts his hand on it. Surely,
And then walks around to the
yeah. Surely it would make more sense if he was like crawling along the ground and he put his hand on it, rather than just putting a load of ketchup on the window. I don't know. I'm bored of complaining about this.
I think
Henry,
we have nitpicked a lot more than I thought we would, but I think I think it's justified when you don't have anything else than like superficial detail.
Yeah.
It's just like that's something.
It
that's
relies so heavily.
This
on
is how it works. It's like this film lives or dies on whether the mechanics
On
of
the
the
world
park
building.
and the mechanics of like the plot makes sense, and it doesn't.
Yeah, Book of Henry, I'd heard this real reputation for like the tonal shifts. I agree they're drastic, but to be honest, my like pervading emotion from it was just that it was a very boring film. There's absolutely nothing to it. It's kind of like
I wouldn't.
very similar
I
to
wouldn't
this,
agree with
very
that.
superficial.
I wouldn't agree with that. I'd say there's the potential for more heart in there, but I think it's completely misjudged.
Right.
It's very different to this because the problem with this is it's soulless.
I think it's executed with the same style in terms of scene length, in terms of how the characters are conveyed to the audience, in terms of the way it's shot. It's.
They try and build more detail in Book of Henry that doesn't make sense and doesn't ring true.
My favourite tonal shift was when he dies at the end, and then they cut to the talent show. All this charming snow after someone's killed themselves.
Yeah, spoilers for Book of Henry.
Well, I haven't said who. Does Henry kill himself at the end? Who knows?
Well, I mean, again, I won't give spoilers because I personally think Book of Henry, in an exercise of just like what not to do, is quite an interesting watch. Right. The middle part did get me quite angry because I thought it was one of those few films. I don't like using this phrase that got into kind of like misery porn territory. I genuinely do. It's so kind of like, how sad is this?
There's a cynicism to it.
Is this sad? Like, it could be sadder. It's so like just throwing sad at you, and
That's what I meant by it. Maybe boring's not the right word. It's just kind of not miserable is a very strong word to use. It's just depressing, I guess.
It is depressing.
Everything just feels so out of place. I like the way the monorail train's just sitting there with people loaded onto it.
Again, though, sorry to be mean to Colin Trevorrow, but he said in an interview about Book of Henry, it's like, I know people found the tonal shifts crazy, but life is crazy. It's like, give me a break. Come on, Colin.
Come on, cinema's not real life.
Do better than that.
Your film Jurassic World proves that. This is the other awkward improv moment.
Oh yeah, this moment doesn't work at all.
But apparently she improvised it.
Wait, she improvised it?
The "I have a boyfriend" line.
What? He was meant to kiss her and it was meant to happen?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What?
And it's difficult to know which is worse.
This is better.
It's like a degree better.
I mean, bad still, but... Oh my god, imagine if she'd have just kissed him back. It'd have been appalling. I mean,
you can have romances with whoever you work with. If there's a girl on the desk next to you, you better go kiss them when you're evacuating the island.
Oh, ridiculous.
She was trying to save the film. It's still like super awkward though. That's what I mean. I do agree with it.
It's not set up between the two of them.
No,
at all. And
it's
you
not even
could have
funny.
had that could have added a nice like dynamic to those scenes because rather than them all just explaining
I think they
the
should have been
plot.
like snarky best friends, and then it would have worked. And it's like, I'm gonna stick around and try and control things. It's like, you sure you're gonna be okay? Yeah, I think I can handle this.
We could endlessly
we could rewrite this whole film.
Yeah, say what the characters should have been. Yeah, I didn't understand that this bit they run straight from here into the lab where all the stuff's going on. What's this building meant to be?
It's the creation lab.
Okay, sorry, that does make sense.
It's where they keep all their mosquitoes.
This film's made me really cynical.
I don't want to talk about films
harsh.
anymore. This is really stupid though, where like, why do they slow down to look at everything? They're just like, they literally all stand there looking at these tanks, and there are people in there with them, and they don't even realise that. Wow, look at this lizard. Wow, isn't this weird? Oh my god, it's a chameleon. Oh, and then she's like, oh, snakes.
The chameleon.
Isn't that weird? Door opens. There are people in there with them
already.
Yep. And they were just staring at the animals. But it's dramatic. So we'll use it.
He just called her honey.
He's gross. He based his performance on Colin Trevorrow.
No, I don't know.
I don't know.
He's had a tough couple of years. No, I'm serious.
Book of Henry really did it.
No, I read a bunch of stuff about him having a tough couple of years because, and I feel
personally, bad because I won't comment anymore.
Because I think
He's got Jurassic World 3
No,
coming out.
No, but like Book of Henry, I think there was an element of when everyone hated it, he was kind of embarrassed and like, and then the Star Wars 9 was taken away from him, and there was also a thing he wrote like a tweet about women. Like he didn't mean it. Yeah. Anyway,
How did this work well for you in the cinema?
Yeah, I'll give it this. Good.
It's nice in that it's not formulaic, but it still doesn't do.
I like it. Yeah, it's quite good and nasty.
It's fun that we get that one shot of him screaming. Dead. There we go. We know we're dead. He's dead. That's enough. That's all we need for that character. So that's why the Zara thing earlier is so out of place.
It's so unnecessary.
Like that should be the shot of him dying should be the goriest thing in the film, and it is. And it's not even that gory. Well, no, it's not. It's not because the Zara death's in there. But
well, I mean, Zara's death isn't gory. It's just disturbing.
Oh yeah.
And I saw a few people saying like they're taking reference from like the Chrissy's death in Jaws, and it's just like, but that's
incomparable.
That isn't a defense of the scene. You could have a scene in this bit with a dinosaur which makes reference to Gaspar Noé's Irreversible. Doesn't mean works in the film just because it's a reference.
Sorry, what were we saying before I rudely interrupted?
I was saying, Colin, there was a tweet about
years.
It was a tweet about something to do with a lot of women directors. He as a producer had tried to get involved for projects that they didn't want to do big blockbuster or big studio films, but I think he phrased it quite badly, and therefore he was criticised a lot for saying,
context.
Yeah, for sort of a kind of a male privileged position.
Oh, poor him. Sorry, I was. Yeah.
But yeah.
Don't worry, he's got Jurassic World 3 coming out.
Yeah. Well, and his
Should we talk about the short film that released like last week?
Brokeback Rock or something? No, not Brokeback Mountain.
What was that? Battle at Big Rock.
Battle at Big Rock. Brokeback Battle at Big Rock.
What?
I don't know.
Where did that come from?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, the short that does absolutely nothing and probably costs like 2 million. No, more than that. It probably costs like.
You were quite
10
cross
million.
with me when I said I thought it was okay.
There's nothing to it. You can do so much with this world and this story, and they just did a formulaic like campfire dinosaurs fighting each other. Do something with InGen. Show what happened to the little DNA canister. Like even if it's just a 5-minute film and it doesn't have any real consequence, just do something interesting.
Please,
I beg of you. Also, there would not be a Pandora at a theme park. I'm pretty sure even like. What is it? Downtown.
what does
Disney.
Pandora sell again?
It's like high-end jewelry.
No.
Like Downtown Disney wouldn't have that. Universal City Walk wouldn't have that. And Jurassic World would not have that.
And I know, because I know theme parks. I'm
a fan.
So well.
Here she goes, getting the big girl out.
That a bit of setup and payoff that doesn't work.
What, the Tyrannosaurus?
Well, yeah, you see the T-Rex earlier on in its cave, and you see it going towards a red flare, but Claire didn't see that, so it doesn't make sense.
Do they literally only use the red flare because it was used in the first film?
I think so. I think it's just one of
Callback.
Colin's references.
Is the Velociraptor falling on the barbecue the equivalent of the gremlin being lowered into the shredder in Gremlins 2?
It's not as funny.
It doesn't go on for as long. There's not much. There's much
it doesn't have
involved.
John Glover
wiping it all off his suit. What does he say? He's like, talk about this mess. Like everyone's like, we need to evacuate the building. He's like, I need to get my suit dry cleaned.
And this bit doesn't work as well when she says...
Is he literally the only person left in the building now?
Yeah, he stays behind.
He's a good boy.
When she says, for once in your life, do something.
Wow, she's taking charge now.
Doesn't work, Jake.
Chill out, babes.
You'll be better in Spider-Man. What do you think of running in the heels? Because that was the main thing people talked about.
I think it's stupid, but it's like probably the least of this film's problems. There's a lot of other stuff to focus on apart from the shoes.
I was actually fairly impartial to it. I didn't really have much of an opinion. I was too busy writing my monologue about Zara's death.
I noticed Vicky McVale taking off her heels, but not Bryce Dallas
You say
Bacall.
Vicky McVale?
Miss Vicky McVale. Hey, she was almost Silver Saint Cloud, so it's close enough.
But that was her original character name.
Yeah, because there's a character in the comments.
Oh,
The comics. We're all over the place tonight. There's a character in the comics that was closer to that role called Silver Saint Cloud. So in all the earlier scripts.
Oh, that makes sense.
Oh god, we're talking about Batman again. This is how bored we are.
It's
Look, it's Billy's magic strap that
See,
saved him
he-
on the cliff face. Do you remember that? Oh, the slow motion heels. I guess that was probably the shot that killed
It
it.
is silly. It's very silly.
Oh no, not the silliest part in the film is coming up. We will.
Which bit?
Oh, it's
No,
just-
I couldn't. I
you'll
couldn't
see it, you'll
possibly.
see it. Oh god. So
Look, if I've
awesome.
made any other comments, I'm pretty sure I gave up by this point.
Oh god, yeah. There's nothing to say by this point, which is why we've been talking.
You
for
don't
like
have an
2
opinion?
hours.
Yeah, no. My last
Last comment.
comment was that I liked the holding hands moment. Colin, do you have anything to say about the special effects or?
It's kind of lame.
Did you know that Michael Giacchino or something like that?
Yeah,
I can't pronounce
Michael
his name.
Giacchino,
Did the
yeah.
score, and he originally did the score for the video game of The Lost World. Did you play the video game of The Lost World?
Briefly, and it's very bad.
Is it bad?
Yeah, don't play it. There aren't many. The best Jurassic Park game that I can think of is the one where it was like Roller Coaster Tycoon, and you designed your own Jurassic Park. Park.
This film is essentially that game, but stretched over 2 hours.
Yeah, same amount of plot. Only the game is better to watch.
Yeah, you're right. Zach is terrible.
Forgot how much of a sort of despicable character he is.
And there's no change.
There was something else about Jurassic Park 3 that I was going to say. I can't remember what it is.
Oh, here comes Blue.
Yeah, all the names. Oh, that's so cringeworthy earlier on where he's like directing them. Do you feel that? When he's standing amongst all the raptors, like giving them instructions, there's just something about it that's so like artificial.
Oh, I don't know.
He doesn't sell it.
I read I read earlier about the plot when the Jurassic Park 4 original script plot that he was meant to call them after like heroic figures from the past. So like the raptors were originally called like Spartacus and like Hector.
Really? Where do you read that?
It was in the Monahan's script.
Really?
It was like when I was reading up about it, and there's
That would be stupid.
there were
That
bits
would
where the
be
main
more
guy was
stupid.
like, "Good job, Spartacus. Come here, Hector."
Here's the stupid. I mean, the Mosasaurus is set up, but we've got a Roland Emmerich moment coming up soon.
But why? Oh,
But they work together. Aren't you? You're meant to applaud like you do at the end of Independence
Yeah, I was
Day.
so upset when everyone was like, I don't think they were cheering, but I think everyone looked really happy.
Yeah,
in the
there's
cinema.
that superficial satisfaction to it. It's like Randy Cade flying into the center of the alien mothership when, in the grand scheme of the plot, that shouldn't do anything. Here, look, they're friends now.
I think this should be the last bad
Yeah.
film that we do a commentary on for a while.
Let off some steam.
I'm quite bored now.
I'm impressed we've been talking for this long
I know.
without pause. Is there anything else?
I was worried we were going to just have to start talking about
Should we just round it out pretty much? Well, no, we'll have more to say.
No. We'll there's more stuff.
No, but I meant like a final sort of big comment to make is that, shall we say, the predominantly the Jurassic Park franchise isn't very good. It's one of those film franchises that
What are you saying?
everyone puts up on a pedestal. You know, it's like the Terminator series. 2 of the 6 Terminator films are any good, and it's the same with this. There's one great Jurassic Park film, and there's one that's good. We all know which one it is, and the rest are average to poor. And yet it's like this hallmark of cinema, and everyone's like, gotta hear out for the next.
There are
Jurassic
more
Park
good
one.
Nightmare on Elm Street films than Jurassic
Yeah,
Park films.
yeah. It's the same with Star Wars. There are 3 great Star Wars films. There's like a couple more good ones, and then the rest are awful.
Again, yeah, no, you're right. I'd say Jurassic Park is one of the best blockbusters ever.
Yeah.
I'd say 2 and 3 are average, but with nice moments throughout. And then I think the two new ones are bad.
What are your predictions for Jurassic World 3?
Bad.
More of the same?
Like all she does is cry.
She deserves to
I think
play more than a mum.
she should slap Bryce Dallas Howard in this bit.
Yeah,
I
it's weird
believe
that she doesn't.
Yeah,
she hasn't been there.
I would believe that. Even if it was like a slap.
What the fuck is wrong with you leaving my kids alone in the forest?
But then she, like, in her breakdown, suddenly, like, hugs her because it's like, I care about you as well. But instead, it's like she gets... That's the thing. If you compare the fate of Zara to the fate
It's brought the sisters closer together. Don't be so cynical.
She gets a warm hug. And Zara gets the Mosasaurus.
Do you remember these parents are getting a divorce as well? They've been getting different posts, which clearly
That was
means
set up
that
3 times. See, I hate that shot as well. It's like Owen's fucking Boy Scout.
He's caring for everyone. Not since Christopher Reeve.
Is there a more flawless protagonist in recent years?
I mean, the big one people would say is Ray, probably. But I think you can find flaws in her.
That's the thing. That's a double standard thing. Chris Pratt is a Mary Sue in this. Yeah, I never heard that said.
Yeah.
I never heard that said.
Self-insert. So we need to outlaw the term Mary Sue and just start using self-insertion.
Self-insertion?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means, like, it's basically the same definition as Mary Sue.
Oh, okay.
Just Mary Sue has, like, a history of being oriented towards female characters.
What about this last shot, eh? Cool, eh?
It's the T-Rex, he's back.
Cool, eh? Look at it. Look at it.
I know what
Oh, this is a nice platform. Maybe I'll roar on it.
Drama.
Cool. Look at me.
I know what they'll do for the third one. They'll come back to the park. Because they didn't do that in the second one, did they?
They did come back to the park.
Did they?
Yeah,
I thought it was just in the mansion.
No.
Oh, the
whole
volcano erupts and they have to get the dinosaurs out.
The whole point of the third one is that it will be... There's no park anymore.
Right, so it'll be like
animals will
the
be living
ending
among
of
us.
Lost World, where it's like unleashed upon the world.
Exactly.
That was actually quite fun in Lost World.
Oh, I think that's the most boring bit.
I think, like, again, maybe the concept's speaking to me more than the execution.
But I the two characters I like in the film
are dead by then.
Well, not dead. They don't show up in the city.
So, what do you think Steven Spielberg made of that film?
So one of the things it surprised me how, despite Colin Trevorrow occasionally saying that he didn't really care about semiotics and just put in stuff that he thought was cool. It was amazing how much they talked about the characters on the making of documentary. I know they always have to do that. They always have to be like, it's a great film. But God, even for one of those, that's like, even for one of those making of documentaries that's like sponsored by the film itself and is part of the promotional. God, they're a cocky bunch. Now. They keep saying how believable the dinosaurs look, and that that's
film documentaries.
They look more,
now, unfortunately.
Yeah, they look more believable than they ever have before. And they keep saying like, the important thing was like the characters. It's like, really.
You need to like watch the retrospective documentary on Batman and Robin in like comparison. Where
is that the one where Joel Schumacher like apologized?
Yeah. He's like, for anyone who loved Batman Forever and I let you down, I'm really, really sorry. Like everyone's saying it was kind of like a shit show. It's just like, it's kind of like humbling. Whereas like blockbusters don't get documentaries like that now.
Yeah.
Like I wonder when Suicide Squad is going to get a documentary that actually says what went on.
I can't wait.
It'll be like 20 years after it came out. But yeah, I think my biggest problem with this film is that people defend it on 2 levels. The first level is it's switch your brain off, blockbuster spectacular. And as we've said before, or rather we said it on our Mummy commentary, which we haven't released.
Because I sound like a moron.
No, you don't.
No!
We'll release it at some stage. We've got it. It's good.
Yeah, it's
but
fine.
on that, we say there are films where you can switch your brain off because you have faith in the film. And all of that content is there. But you don't need to access it because the superficial level works and the deeper level works. And this just does not work on either level. Like, the superficial level doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't hold up logically.
Again, for the people who defend it on a thematic level, it doesn't follow through. And even some of the earlier sequels that aren't as good at least follow through on their premise.
Yes, I'd agree with both of them completely. I think in a more... I guess in a less grand way, I have a big problem with all the characters. I think my main takeaway from when I first watched the film, it was slightly less bad when I watched it again, but it's still terrible. Is none of the characters speak like normal people, and none of
they're not given space.
They don't develop in a way that's interesting. Information isn't revealed about them in an interesting way. You don't learn things about them as the film goes along, and they don't learn things about each other as the film goes along. And that's just such a basic must for storytelling. Yeah. You don't need to forget all that when you're making a blockbuster. That should be stuff that's just there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like even Jurassic Park 3, that happens, and everyone keeps saying how terrible that is. At least it follows through
people
a basic.
Actually say that one is genuinely terrible? Do you think it's just the silly moments like Alan?
Yeah, but I think people genuinely. I think a lot of people consider it the worst of the franchise, except maybe until Fallen Kingdom. Anyway, the characters are all really, really terribly written, and I don't believe any of their interactions, and I don't believe any of their actions either. Again, I think the gender politics are at best dodgy.
Wow, I thought you'd say even worse. I thought you'd be like.
That's me being cut. I mean, I kind of put the treatment of Zara in a category of its own. I want to start like like Barb in Stranger Things.
Yeah.
How she became a cult figure. I want to do the same for Zara. Justice for Zara.
Justice for Zara.
I hope like the beginning of my pitch for the beginning of Jurassic World 3 is it's just like a beach. It's like a calm beach, and then like suddenly like the Mosasaurus like comes out of the ocean and then spits Zara out. She's like,
She's like Boba Fett, like in all of the like expanded stuff where he escapes.
Exactly. And she's like really like cool, and she's like the main girl in Revenge, and she's like got all the pterodactyl bites, but she like killed all the pterodactyls in its stomach, and it's just all about Zara.
She like strangles velociraptors.
Yeah. And also, she has a stupid British accent in this film that always... Yeah, it's really weird. Even though she speaks probably like how I speak, whenever you put British actors
they sound like
in films like this, they sound ridiculous.
Again, like Independence Day.
She's an Irish actress, and she has a really cool voice in real life. I don't know why they made her sound like a fucking butler from a 50s
I'm following them now.
Don't just stand there. Let her speak in her own voice and make her a character. Really annoys me.
Omar Sy spoke in his own voice. Why can't she?
I forgot how many times Omar Sy says murd. Does
he?
He keeps saying murd. It's a shame.
It's a shame, really. This whole film.
How
do you feel about Jurassic World: The Ride?
Oh.
How Jurassic Park's representation.
Have you been on the World Ride? Have you been?
No, I've been on Park. But
the Park one's brilliant, but haven't they rebranded it now to?
I haven't seen any like videos of it, but I think from what I gathered, they've replaced some of the animatronics with screens, which is like the current thing to do, which is a bit of a shame.
It's in right now.
So yeah.
Are you gonna watch Fallen Kingdom?
Probably not. My one excuse to watch it was for this commentary, and I remember when it came out, I had zero. It's just not. This is one of those franchises where I've checked out. It's like Star Wars, and Terminator. I can't remember what other ones there are. Name me some franchises that keep going that nobody cares about anymore.
X-Men?
Kind of. I never was super into that anyway. Batman, I'm a bit like that. I just don't keep up with it.
Oh, I'm quite excited by Robert Pattinson.
Could be good.
I like him.
But, I mean, it's kind of just that point of like, if it's interesting, I'll go and see it. But this was just,
I know we should have said this at the beginning, but I actually think it's worth asking, because I don't know the answer, why did we do this film for this commentary? Because I think there was an unspoken idea that I think we think it's kind of interesting to talk about in the context of modern films.
We wanted to do a bad film. After doing two that we loved, we wanted to do one that we hated, and I think the one that we had the most common ground on was this. There we'll probably find more, but this is the one where we could both say that we pretty much hate it.
I think it's interesting,
and also
as
it's such a controversial opinion of ours. I would say that we do hate it. I think there's a lot of people
I wouldn't
out
say
there
it's that controversial, but I think it's definitely overrated.
Yeah.
I think now people over the next few years are going to kind of realise
changing on it.
But I was looking up the initial review. I mean, it's 7 out of 10 on IMDb. I think it's 73%,
isn't it?
Yeah, 78% audience score, and I think it's 72 or 3%. Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's it.
So a lot of critics I really gave it 4 stars. So definitely overrated. I really, really don't think it works on any level.
It doesn't.
Afraid not.
Let me just check over for anything else. Anything else
Let me
about
just check my notes.
Jurassic Park 3 that I want to say.
We're nearly done, guys.
I think I'm just gonna leave it there. Really.
There's nothing more to say. Should I see if I've got any more? Oh yeah, in justifying the terrible dialogue between Owen and Claire, Colin said, "It's the way kids think adults talk to each other."
What?
That was his justification for the quality of the dialogue. But of course, they're not around when Owen and Claire speak to each other, so that doesn't work.
What the fuck? So what?
Colin.
He wrote adults to speak like kids.
No, he wrote adults to speak in
like
the way that
the
kids perceive
think
the way
that
adults speak.
When the kids aren't around.
Yeah.
Because he's feeling lazy and he just wanted to write juvenile dialogue. Okay, well, that makes sense. Cheers, Colin. That makes a lot of sense.
Seems like a nice guy.
Okay, I guess I'll take my 5-year-old to come and see these films and just kind of switch off whilst they take it all in.
Yeah,
That's gross.
it's purely professional.
Yeah. The only other thing that I was going to say is one along the lines of like the dinosaurs being used as weapons. One thing that was used in the original Jurassic Park book, which probably would have worked better here, is that the dinosaurs were going to be used as test animals. Because they bring it up in this that an extinct animal has no rights because we engineered them. Apparently, in the original Jurassic Park book, which character is it? It's the guy who gets Nedry to get the DNA. He's like
Dodson.
Yeah, Dodson's got a bigger role in the book, and he's like, these animals have no rights, so we can use them as test subjects and just like do whatever the fuck we want with them. Which is an interesting idea, and they could have used that in place of the batshit insane like militarization one that doesn't work.
Sorry, it fucking started playing again. Stop it. The film.
Okay, it's fine.
No.
We're talking about the film.
That does sound more interesting. I would have preferred to see the crazy one. Where
Yeah.
They crossbreed humans and
get our DeLorean out and change history a bit so that we can see that.
I really would. Who would have been, just final note, who would have been a great director to make our Gremlins 2 style satire?
Joe Dante. Just get Joe Dante to do it. He's done it before. Don't give him any like restrictions, otherwise you end up with Looney Tunes back in action. If you don't give him restrictions, you end up with Gremlins 2, and you would end up with Jurassic Park.
Also,
the dinos run wild.
I reckon having like John Travolta and Nicolas Cage as like Koch brothers style, like so they're running the park, they've inherited the park, and it's just them like screaming down the phone to people like, the dinosaurs are coming out.
I knew the dinosaurs were dangerous, but this is on a whole new level.
The plan was to make a theme park where the dinosaurs were the attraction, just fucking insane.
They're like the sons of Richard Hammond.
And then the dinosaurs killed everyone who knew about the mission, but not before taking the DNA from me.
Oh, I realised I said Richard Hammond instead of John Hammond.
Richard Hammond.
Virgin sponsors the Jurassic Park.
What I would have liked is if like Jeremy Clarkson was in the...
Now
the thing with dinosaurs is they're not as fast as cars. And then like a T-Rex bursts, it's like, oh no. And then it just like eats him.
I wasn't expecting that.
Although like, that would have mean him being in... Yeah, no, it doesn't hold up.
We'll scratch that. Don't worry, we've got hours of scripting.
If it happened in real life. No, I'm not endorsing murder. Anyway.
That was quite a tangent.
Justice for Zara. Share the hashtag, folks.
Yeah, get on our Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. We've got a page up for it already.
Be our 7th follower.
We've got plenty of memes going about Zara
hashtag
to
for Zara.
keep her spirit alive. But
bring her back in Jurassic World 3.
Yeah.
Colin, give the people what they want.
And until we see her back on the silver screen and all the kids cheer because they've gotten into another 12A when they shouldn't really be in there.
If you want redemption for Book of Henry, you know what to do. Okay, well, I'm done.
Me too. I guess that's good timing. So it's the film.
Okay, cool. See you next time for our commentary on We Haven't Decided Yet.
Go watch Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, the first one's amazing.
You deserve it.
And also give 2 and 3 a chance because it's there's some nice moments.
Watch them, see what you think.
Watch a compilation on YouTube of all the William H. Macy moments in Jurassic Park 3.
then go watch Mystery Men and see him as the Shoveler, the greatest superhero creation of all time. Okay, bye.
Bye.